The hour being 7 o'clock, I call the meeting to order. We have a very heavy schedule tonight. If you haven't noticed already, we have 9 cases, possibly 10. We're not going to rush anyone. Everyone should have their say and their day in court, so to speak. So even if we're here at 11 o'clock or midnight, we'll be here. Hopefully we won't, but I just want to let you know that. I don't want anybody to feel rushed. This is your time, you've made the petition, and you have a right to speak. We can start with the members of the board introducing themselves.
Kathleen Muller.
Jim Hilliard.
Al Donahue.
Mike Pollard.
Megan Mayhew.
And Sheila Delaney, Secretary.
So we're here tonight based on the petitioner's application to be heard for either special permits or variances. You should know, and if you don't already, that special permits and variances before the Zoning Board of Appeal require a supermajority vote, which means 4 out of the 5 members who are sitting on your particular case have to vote in the affirmative. If 2 of those members vote in the negative, then your appeal is not warranted and your appeal is not passed. We all understand that. This hearing is videotaped on Channel 18, I believe. It is Channel 18. I believe it's probably will be airing probably tomorrow or the day after. It doesn't air immediately. Can I have the clerk read the notices? Ma'am.
Would you like me to read that?
Yes.
Okay, tonight we are starting with case number 201820. Stephen C. Smith has applied for a special permit to construct a living room addition in place of an existing deck within the setbacks. The application is pursuant to the Code of the Town of Harwich, 32551, and Table 2 area regulations, as set forth in MGL Chapter 40A, Section 6. The property is located at 28 Harborview Road, map 6, parcel E35 in the RH1 zoning district. We have one piece of correspondence, which is from the health inspector, Katie Tenalia. She says that she's reviewed the application for a special permit for the Zoning Board of Appeals for the project at 28 Harborview Road. The Board of Health approved variances on January 10th, 2006 to replace a sewage disposal system at the above referenced property on a plan dated December 29th, 2005, prepared by Moran Engineering. In granting the variances, the Board of Health imposed the following orders of condition. So these are a part of that record. There is to be no increase in square footage, habitable space, or number of bedrooms beyond those shown on the plan dated December 29, 2005. 2, system is to be inspected and maintained if necessary every 3 years. 3, this variance letter shall be recorded at the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds, and a recorded copy of the same shall be furnished to the Harwich Town Clerk and Board of Health. 4, there is no provision for a garbage disposal with this plan. And 5, a deed restriction for 2 bedrooms shall be recorded at the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds, and a copy of the same furnished to the Health Department prior to the issuance of the permit. This project would result in an increase in square footage and habitable space, and therefore requires Board of Health variance reconsideration. Should you require further information, please do not hesitate to contact me.
What year was that letter, Shayla?
2006.
Okay.
Because we have 5 members, only 5 members of the board will all be voting on this matter. And gentlemen, could you introduce yourself and tell me what your relationship is to the project?
Sure. Stephen Smith, the property owner.
Trevor Meyer, Meyer and Son Builders.
I'll allow you to make a presentation, and at which point the board will then ask some questions. And after that, we'll open it up to whomever is here in support or against. Then we will vote. Okay?
That's good.
Who's going to make the presentation?
I will.
Okay.
Good evening, Trevor Meyer. We are aware of the information from the Board of Health. I spoke with Katie last week. Our plan is to go back in front of them for a variance for the increase in habitable space / living area. We're before you tonight to ask for a special permit for the living room addition, which would actually just take the place of the existing deck, same footprint. We are keeping an existing right-hand side setback the same, although it is encroaching on the setback area, and then decreasing the non-conformity of the rear setback by about 5 feet. So you're giving back 5 feet on the rear, keeping the right-hand side setback the same for the new living area. That pretty much sums it up as far as a brief overview. I know you have a long meeting tonight, so we'll
Oh, that's all right, I want to, if you have information you want to give to us, it's to your benefit to do that. Anything else? Questions from the board?
Yes, I have a procedural question. If further review from the health department is required based on the 2006 letter, can we, I'm assuming that we cannot act on this until that's secured.
Well, I think we can, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to obtain a building permit. Our approval is only as good as some people have to get conservation, some people have got to get Board of Health. So if we, assuming we approve it, if we don't approve it, then it's out. If we do approve it, before you can obtain a building permit, you've got to get the Board of Health to
Okay,
approve.
so we can act conditioned upon subsequent approval from the Board of Health. Okay, thank you. That's my only question.
Mr. Donahue?
The only question I had with regard to the property is the deck. Just out of curiosity, the roof line in the back, you gonna be able to get enough of the pitch going over that deck when you make it part of the home?
I can. It's gonna be more than 3 floors, because I can only get a 4 pitch on it, but I will have enough.
I have nothing further.
No questions.
So the living room addition's going over the deck footprint, right? Is that what I was
Correct.
reading? Place of an existing deck.
Correct.
Okay, so so it's not the same size?
So the deck starts a little bit forward of the jog on the front. It's the same size footprint, we're just pulling it back.
Okay,
So-
yeah, I was wondering how you,
We're reducing it, but also,
yeah, okay. All right, I don't have any further questions.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak in favor of the applicant? Anyone wish to speak in opposition to the applicant? Okay. Does the board have a standing? Do we have a vote, one way or another? Motion?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. What is the board's liking? Any further discussion, or does we want a motion?
Move to vote.
Okay, move to approve?
Move to approve.
Okay, second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
thank you.
However,
Yeah, wait a minute. We've got to give it to Imprimatur.
when you will have some stair plans, I'll take them. But when you come back to the building permit, you will need to have plans. And you want here, because we're going to be throwing them away.
Yes. Recycle, reuse, reuse.
There you go.
Thank you.
Don't mind.
I'm just going to give you the whole thing.
Thank you.
What do I have to do?
Thank you.
What are you looking for? I couldn't move and second.
No, I know.
Yes. You want me to do that? No. Capola.
For the motion. Yes,
When we move, we need to know finding that
that's right.
the case applies.
Now- Has Kathleen done this before?
No, I'd rather
Can you
Mike
do
do
it?
it.
Well,
Please.
it's in there, but if someone
Okay,
would amend.
sure. We have a volunteer?
I'll read
amend just to include that?
Amend what?
The motion to approve, to grant? We have to grant it based
Okay.
on something.
Okay.
Having some technical difficulties.
sorry,
We'll
I'm-
straighten this out in a
So
second.
we grant a special permit to allow X based on finding that X,
Okay.
okay? You know what I mean? Do you want to do
So
it?
I'm reading it?
If
I'm sorry, I'm not, can you help? What are we doing?
Yeah,
So, Ms. Mueller, who seconded it?
We just amend the motion.
oh, I made the motion, seconded, moved and seconded.
To grant this,
Who seconded that?
I think you did.
Kathleen.
I did?
No,
I'll put that in
what I'm
there.
saying is,
You don't have to put
should
that
say,
in.
to amend the motion
Okay.
that we grant the special permit to build an addition in place of
Okay.
the existing deck according to plans provided for finding that case applies with an intensification of an existing.
Oh, okay. I gotcha, sorry.
So
You were
I
being
would
totally
move
subtle.
to amend the motion
Mhm.
to grant a special permit to build an addition in place of the existing deck according to the plans provided to the board. Do I need to read the plans in, or?
No,
Nope,
we don't
okay.
need this.
Provided the board finding that the Gale case applies with an intensification of an existing nonconformity with no new nonconformity and no substantial detriment to the neighborhood. Board voted unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have to, okay. Who's Mr. Ryan?
Did you stamp the plans?
All set? Yeah, well,
Did you stamp plans?
no,
You don't have plans in your
I
packet.
gave him my way.
Which you didn't do.
I gave him to the petitioner.
Okay.
I'll take yours.
All right.
Why don't I give you this tonight? And
Okay.
you can do this.
I'll give this to you.
Yeah.
I didn't
All
have
right.
that packet that you got.
So when we move, we have to move to grant a special
Yep.
permit to
Right.
do something based on something.
Okay,
Let Mike read them all. He's the expert now.
right.
Oh, I don't know about an expert. Yeah.
Okay. Next case.
Hold on.
Can't do it. Yeah, get it on it, Sheila.
Want me to read it in?
Okay, the next case.
Read it in?
She's gonna read it. But you can if you want.
Case number 201821, Margaret M. Grand, or Grande, I'm not sure. Grande, okay. Has applied for a special permit to build a covered porch onto a pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling. The application is pursuant to the Code of the Town of Harwich, Section 32551, and Table 2 Area Regulations, as set forth in MGL Chapter 40A, Section 6. The property is located at 85 Brooks Road, map 12, parcel W17 in the RH1 zoning district. I have two pieces of correspondence. One is from the Conservation Commission, saying that the property is in a flood zone and requires conservation approval. The second is from the Board of Health, saying, "I've reviewed the application for a special permit for the Zoning Board of Appeals for project at 85 Brooks Road. The septic system was installed in 1989 and was designed for a total of 6 bedrooms. The proposed plan in coordination with the septic system as built shows that the porch deck will not have an impact on the septic system and will not be located on top of any septic components. However, it is the owner's responsibility to ensure that the addition is not located over any septic components and that all components are easily accessible. Should you require any further information, please do not hesitate to contact Katie Tenalia."
Would you introduce yourself, please?
I'm Margaret Grandy, the owner.
And I'm Steve Grandy, her husband.
Okay. If you want to bring us up to date on your information in your case?
Sure, so what we are looking to do is, on the front of the house, is just build in an open-end porch, and we would like it to match up with the existing foundation. When the house was built in 1989, I believe, the setbacks were a little bit different. So the way the house goes now, it sounds like we're inside of that space. And so we just want to put a fireman's porch across, have it match up with the existing foundation, so it look aesthetically nice and pleasing to the neighbors. And that's it.
You're not affecting any bedrooms, you're not
Oh,
affecting...
no,
I
sir.
know.
Okay.
No, sir.
It's outside,
Yes.
It's an outside open porch.
okay. Anything else? That's it?
Yes.
So you have a pre-existing non-conforming structure,
Correct.
and you are looking to extend that structure
Correct.
within it, not making it any more non-conforming?
Correct.
Okay.
I have no questions.
I have one comment. When you submit a plan here, you're required to submit a stamped plan. I don't believe your plan was stamped.
So,
And I'm only raising it for, because it's one of the requirements we have when you file for an appeal, is that the plan that you give us to depend and rely on has to be a plan that's been stamped by either an architect or an engineer or someone who cares, and yours wasn't. I'm not gonna take it any further than that, but I just want to bring it up. Mr. Donahue?
As I read your proposal, you're actually picking up 5 inches on the front right side of your property, meaning you're moving it in away from the setback. The setback is at 12.8.
okay.
You're making it 13.1, so you're moving it further away from the original setback.
I'm not sure.
It's fine,
I
I
could
just-
tell you, we just wanted to butt up against the edge of the house.
To match.
No, they're
Making it
fine.
less non-conforming?
No, they're not, yeah, less non-conforming.
Less
yeah.
non-conforming, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Mr. Capoli?
No questions.
No question.
Okay. Are there any public officials here who wish to be heard? Does anyone wish to be heard in favor of this petition? Anyone wish to be heard in opposition to this petition? Okay. Any further questions from the board? And do you have any final comments you want to make?
No.
Okay. A motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any motions from the board?
Motion to close the public hearing.
We just did, I think. Okay. Any further motions from the board?
You want to read anything?
What?
Right underneath it.
Okay.
We're electing you. So who's moving? You're moving?
I'm moving
To grant?
to grant the requested special permit to build a covered porch according to the plans provided, the board finding that the Gale case applies with an intensification of an existing nonconformity with no new nonconformity and no substantial detriment to the neighborhood.
Second.
Okay. I have a second.
I did.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Would you like this set of plans back?
Yes, please.
Do you really still use the tennis court like we did 35 years ago? Okay. Used to be we couldn't live without it. Now you could hire it out for pickleball.
You want these,
Thank you. Thank you.
Next case is case number 201822. Gregory Winston of Plunkett Winston LLC, AKA the Winstead Inn and Beach Resort, has applied for a special permit or in the alternative a variance for an existing trash shed. The application is pursuant to the code of the town of Harwich, section 325-18G, and table 2 area regulations as set forth in MGL chapter 40A, sections 6 and 10. Property is located at 4 Braddock Street, map 7, parcel F17 in the RH1 zoning district.
Good evening. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Good evening, I'm Gregory Winston, and I'm one of the owners of the property at 4 Braddock Street.
Could I interrupt you to read the comments?
Go ahead, madam.
Trying to. We had comments from the Conservation Commission. She says it is okay as is, but may need conservation approval if moved. And the Health Department and Health Agent said she'd reviewed the project. The septic system was installed in 1991 and was designed for a total of 14 bedrooms. The site plan shows that the trash shed does not have an impact on the septic system and is not to be located on top of any septic system components. However, it's the owner's responsibility to ensure that it is not located over any septic components and that all components are easily accessible. As the plan is, the Health Department does not have any issues with the trash shed. I also have 2 letters that were sent in from neighbors in support of the proposal. One was from R. Boyden Brodeur of 18 and 20 Bank Street, brother and sister, and they're writing in support of zoning relief required to allow the applicants the shed that they're applying for. Our properties are all pre-existing non-conforming. We share in the hardship that Greg and David are experiencing. There is no possible place to store trash and equipment other than a shed on the property line. Our own shed is on our north property line. We ask that you grant the zoning relief requested so our neighbors may keep their shed where it is. The other is from Alan Payne of 6 Braddock Street. I am writing this letter in favor of the shed location requested by the Winstead Inn. I'm the owner of the house located at 6 Braddock, directly next to the inn. Greg and David have always kept their property in pristine condition. The shed location and usage will only help to maintain the cleanliness of the inn and grounds. Without a doubt, the requested location is the most practical position for the shed. I am asking that you support this position and the requested zoning relief.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
My name is Gregory Winston, and I am the, one of the owners of the property at 4 Braddock Lane. And in our application, we basically are asking, we have for all of the years that we've been owners of the real estate, had a shed located right on that exact same property line. Over the last few years, we've had some difficulty with an abutter, and as we have grown older, we found it a little difficult to bend to get into the shed that was only this high. So now we have a shed high enough so that we can actually walk through the door with a wheeled trash barrow and out again. Because of the access to our property, we have a pie-shaped lot, and the street access is very narrow. And you will notice that a lot, and our plot plan has been stamped and is registered at the Registry of Deeds. And you can see the hardship, I think, immediately. A garbage truck can't back into the property because during the summer months we have guests, and the guest parking is in such fashion that you can't get a truck onto the property in the morning hours when trash pickup would normally happen. So basically what we're doing is taking the trash, in our own truck, as long as we can, to the dump, and relieving the neighbors of the noise of a trash removal truck coming to the back door. But bottom line is the shed has just changed in as much as it's higher so that we can get in and out of it.
Anything else?
Unless you have questions,
We do.
I'll answer.
Mrs.
Exactly.
Miller?
Yes, I do have a question. This is the current shed, and you're seeking to replace it with a larger shed?
No, that is the shed.
That is the shed that's in question? You
Yes.
built that, you put that there without,
We put that there to replace the shed that was just to the south of it, which you
okay, so after the fact, you're seeking,
yeah, we found out after the
Okay.
fact that even though the existing shed was existing and so forth and so on, the new shed is to take the place of the existing shed.
okay, no further questions.
How long had the prior shed been on this particular foundation?
Since we bought the property in 1985,
What was the time between the time you got rid of that and the time you put this one on?
that's a little bit more complicated. The existing shed is still there. It's directly abuts
Okay.
the shed that we put up in May or June.
So
I'm
it's
not sure.
still there.
It's still there, and it gets a little more complicated than that. We have been in court with the abutting property, which is 16 Bank Street, going on, I don't know if it's been like 6 years or whatever. It's been a long, drawn-out, miserable affair. And the owners of that particular property have filed well, actually, we won 3 cases. So there's
Was it
there's
all
actually
over the
no single case.
All
But-
over the shed?
But no, it's got nothing to do with the shed. It has all to do with the property line.
Okay.
And the idea is that the property line is established on the map that you have there and is recorded. The abutting neighbors contested it, and we went to court, and we won the summary judgment. And we also had to take sort of radical, because they tried to actually take a huge section of our beach simultaneously. That was all stopped by a judge, a zoning judge, and then the case went forward. We won the summary judgment, we won the first appeal, we won the second appeal. They now, at this point in time, have a caveat, stupid little caveat, that they don't have to join with us to replace the fence in the location that it belongs until the fence needs to be replaced, and who's to determine when it needs to be replaced? It clearly needs to be replaced now. But the bottom line is that they own about 10 decks that are connected to our fence, that are on our property, that are all completely against zoning. And they all, on top of all of this, to make matters even worse, constructed a new deck a year ago, which infringes on the setback.
Okay.
So it's a long story that
Okay.
you probably don't need to
No,
hear.
what I'm trying to determine is, you're telling me that this new shed is up, obviously, and is it abutting the older shed?
Well, the old shed is literally, the fence and the shed are one and the same. In other words, until the fence comes down, the back of the, so I
Okay.
take the fence
All
down.
right.
But
What are the dimensions of the new shed, square footage of the?
It's on the application.
I didn't see it.
I think
I
it's
didn't,
12 by
It's okay,
6.
but it's an important number. What is the,
12 by 6.
what is it,
12 by 6, I think.
12 by 6?
12 by
So it's
6.
less than 100 square feet?
Right, right.
And
And
how
the old shed would come down, and at any moment in
And
time,
how
we'd
high
take
is
it
it?
down.
What's the height?
Tall enough to get into, so 7 feet maybe.
Okay.
I think that on the picture, you can probably pretty well get an idea. It's a 2-story building, so the shed with its peak isn't even higher than the first story.
And the existing shed, you're replacing the existing shed with this,
Exactly,
at the same footprint?
yes. Well, no, it's not exactly the same footprint. The new shed.
Larger
The
footprint?
new shed was brought closer to the street, because
Okay.
the existing shed's still there,
Okay,
which is only this high, but the existing shed can't come down until the fence can be removed.
mhm,
And in order to remove the fence and gain the real estate that we actually rightfully own,
okay.
the existing fence has to come down.
And when you built this new shed, did you get a building permit for it? Did you
Well,
need a-
Actually, we went to the company right up here on Queen
Okay.
Anne Road and
and
Pine
they-
Harbor.
they took-
ordered the shed,
Okay.
and they delivered it.
Okay. Mr. Donahue?
I have no questions.
I have no questions.
Okay. Anyone here who wishes to speak in favor of this petition? Anyone here who wishes to speak in opposition to the petition? Yes, sir. Could you stand right up there and tell us who you are and?
Good evening. My name is Joe Curran, and I own 16 Bank Street, which is in on the beach.
Okay,
I'm kind of a newcomer. I've only been here 8 years. All the litigation talk that went on there, which is utterly nothing to do with a shed, was prior to us purchasing that. He was in litigation with the prior owner through his disputes with the prior owner as well. The shed is literally within 5 feet of our kitchen door. It is not an existing shed, as this particular case describes it as he just indicated. It's a new shed, and the existing shed is still existing. As far as the boundary line is concerned, where that current fence sits is the boundary line. There was a boundary line issue further down, much further down. That has been litigated, that has been resolved. There is a difference of some footage on that, but that has nothing to do with where this current fence sits or where this shed currently sits. Again, it's about 5 feet from our kitchen door, awful close.
How far away was the prior shed from your kitchen door?
Well, about the same, it's further up. It's next to this existing shed, so there's now 2 sheds.
So is your kitchen door 5 feet away from your property line?
Roughly.
Okay,
There was never a kitchen there before. I didn't know there was a kitchen.
so, I'm sorry, so your opposition is because of what is your opposition for the shed?
It's within 5 feet of our kitchen door, and without conforming to the 5-foot setback, it puts it within 5 feet of my kitchen door. Move it over 5 feet closer to your building, maintain the setback for the 5-foot shed. That would put it about 10 feet from our door, which is a little bit more palatable since it is a trash shed. As far as the issue brought up about us doing something with a deck, we replaced a deck. We took up pressure-treated decking and replaced it with Trex decking. So I don't know what that was about, but
And to your understanding, is this shed the same distance from your property line as the older shed is or was?
I don't know.
Is it, if you know, is it any closer to your property line?
I wouldn't know that.
Okay.
Sir, I believe Mr. Winstead said that the old shed is still there. So you certainly have an opportunity to observe if the new shed is closer to the property line than the old shed, because they're both there. Is that correct?
Could I interject a minute?
Please, not now. You can if you want to
Well, I
speak.
just want to let them know that the other shed was
Lower,
I'm
so-
sorry. This one is 2 feet above the fence line.
Above the fence line, so
Okay.
it's much more obvious,
Okay,
not only in proximity, but in elevation.
okay.
It's about 8 or 9 feet high.
The old,
The new shed,
the new shed is, okay.
right.
Okay. Anything else, sir? Anyone else wish to speak in favor or against the application? Ma'am, did you want to?
No, I just want to let them know that the existing
Okay.
shed, we didn't know the existing shed was there.
Okay, okay,
It was much lower. This one was much higher.
okay.
Well,
Any-
that breeze.
Anyone else wish to speak? Thank you, sir.
Thanks. I apologize for being such a rude neighbor.
Oh, don't apologize to me. So my question then back to you is this new shed abutting, is it right on your property line? Or is it off your property line?
Do you have your plan, your
Yes.
site plan? If I could approach, I could maybe point something out on the site plan for you.
This one?
That's it, thank you. Okay. Okay, you have, okay, this is correct. This is going to show you the deviation.
Yeah,
Let's see here. I've got to find my own address first. I got it
We
straight
need a magnifying
up.
glass.
Okay, this.
Can I observe that?
Certainly.
sure.
It's not clear because this one's quite small, but the line has changed, the property line has changed, and the agreed property boundary has changed. And basically, the full-size map would show it to you a lot
Which-
clearer.
which
Here,
is-
right here.
which is
Here-
your
here it
lot-
is.
which
I'll
is-
do it for him. here's the disputed area right there, and that's all the way down to the beach, almost 300 feet from where we're talking about up by the
So
shed.
this is 16 Bank
The
Street,
disputed area goes all the way to this spot, right
and this
there.
is
No,
your
it doesn't,
lot?
because that's his own drawing, and here you can see his own engineer is picking the difference up right here.
We're not
That's
here
his
to,
engineer.
we're not here to
That's fine.
argue out the
I
issue of
agree.
disputed areas.
This
My
is 4
question-
Braddock Road, and this is 16 Bank Street, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. This is our parcel. As you can see,
Okay.
the hardship is with the access here getting into the
My
parcel.
question is specifically, what was the distance between your property line and your old shed? What is the distance between your property line and your new shed?
Our old shed technically probably sits about, in other words, we gained real estate. We gave away real estate down here in the court decision, and we gained real estate on the upland. Their decks all are now tied to our fence. They're all illegal. And the
Okay,
deck,
but that's
the
not,
bottom line is,
All right.
the bottom line is, the new shed is more conforming than the existing shed.
okay.
If you guys are gonna continue testimony, can you just back up
Yeah,
and have a
we-
seat? and-
everyone else needs to hear this.
Thank you.
It makes it a lot easier.
So,
I could point it out better, but on the
That's all
full-size
right.
map,
all right.
it's much clearer, and I do
The,
have it.
the issue, if your new shed is closer to the property line than your old shed, we have a problem.
They're both on the same, the fence is the
Okay.
property line, they're both
So
sheds.
your
One
new
is,
shed and
is-
your old shed share the same distance between your property lines?
so
Is that what you're saying?
the old shed, the back of the old shed is the fence.
Okay.
The new shed is 6 inches further from
Oh,
the
okay,
fence
all right, so it's,
than the old shed.
I get it,
right.
okay. Are you gonna take down the old shed?
Once I get permission, the butter neighbors,
Okay. So you're gonna take the old shed down?
absolutely, the old shed will come down as soon as I can put up the new fence, which
And-
is,
And would you repeat what you just said? The new shed is further onto your property?
obviously,
than
yes,
your-
because there's space, because
Okay.
it doesn't, see, the existing shed is the fence. In other words, the back of the fence is the back of the shed, literally, and the wood is rotting, and the garbage and the rats and all the things that come and go came and went. And the neighbors don't care,
Okay.
but I do.
Mr. Donahue?
I have no questions. It's gonna get.
Foley?
You wanna go ahead? Maybe I'll go.
Mayhew, anything?
We're debating who's gonna go first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna let Ms. Mayhew,
Go ahead.
jump ahead.
Okay, how big is the new shed? It doesn't say, as far as I can see, it doesn't say anywhere on this application.
It's 6 by 12, right?
Below 100,
Okay, it's below 100, so there is no setback requirement, correct, or is it 5?
5 feet.
5 feet, okay, thank you.
Yep, that's,
I wish I had something on here that said the size of the shed.
okay.
Was it denied? Was the building permit denied?
Oh, yes,
That's
that
over
brings
here.
you to the Board of Appeals.
So
You applied for a building permit.
so if it's under 100 square feet, do you need a building permit?
Yes.
You need a shed registration, not a building
Just a
permit.
shed registration, right, which is not a building
Right.
permit.
That was the purpose of my question on its height and its square footage, to determine whether it fit within the distance between the shed and his property
The
line.
existing shed is larger.
Okay. Now, if I just may, I think one of the issues is for us to make a decision on this. We need to see a plan that clearly shows where this shed is located, the distance, and what the size of the shed is. I don't think we have that plan.
Not in my packets.
Isn't that in the,
This one here in the bottom.
No.
I'm sure that it was, that I put it in.
I'm
Do you
not-
have a copy there?
The photographs were there, but I found
Don't,
no.
don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not suggesting that you'll be denied
No, I'm just saying
or
that,
approved on either side, but I think we're missing something, because we're all sort of guessing on what
Oh,
these
here's the
dimensions
plan.
are.
here's the plan. This is an old plan, so you have to look at this property line.
I
Is
think
this-
we are really restricted as to the age of a plan that we can accept, but
Is this the same plan as this one?
It is.
yes, I'm looking at it as the
Well,
same
this
plan.
is, The only difference is that this one actually shows the building, but this one is not this is not the land courted plan. This plan is but this certainly will help you out, I think. Basically, this property line is determined to go just this way.
But
But
that's
this
not
up here
answering our
shows you the
question.
shed.
No.
Okay,
Okay.
this is the location of the shed,
Yeah.
right here.
Okay.
And the existing shed is all the way back here, so all that distance there.
I,
Think we need a current
yeah,
plot
I'm
plan.
concerned that we don't have, I mean, I understand, I'm sure you're telling us what's the best of your knowledge, but in order for us to make a judgment and a decision, we've got to see something that is on a certified plot plan that shows where this shed is located, where the old shed is, where the new shed is, where it's located, in order for us to vote, because I don't know what we'd be voting on, whether we'd be voting in favor or against it. My suggestion is gonna be that we continue this hearing until such time as you can present us with a plan that shows exactly where the shed is located, its distance from the property line, in the size of the shed, and the height of the shed, which may then allow you to have this shed up against your property line under any circumstances, but we can't judge that.
My only question to the board is this. If you were to look at this, and I know the information was provided to the building department,
Do you have a copy of that?
I have everything here, including the application. Hold on just a second. But it's been so costly for us over the years for this lawsuit that has been carrying on and on and on, and we've won it in every round. For me now to have to hire an engineer to come in and resurvey this
It's not a
property.
survey, no, it's not a survey.
But I have to have a survey you have to have a survey to see exactly where that shed is, don't you?
No.
This is less conforming, I mean, more conforming than
No.
the existing shed.
Okay, but you have what's called a plot plan. It's different from the survey.
I have provided you with both the plot plans that I own.
The plot plans, that's what you own. Those plot plans have an age on them that is, I think, almost beyond what we're allowed to accept. They're not new plot plans.
Do you have,
Yeah.
That's the only thing he's saying.
plot
Shed does
plans
not
from-
conform to the
from your
required
litigation?
setback.
You
I know.
must have.
Oh, yes, we have absolutely everything.
You might
could
dig
be
through
the-
that. and
In fact,
find
I didn't even want to bother to bring my attorney who's been working on this thing for so many years.
But the
We have
building
everything.
inspector denied you because of the non-conforming nature of the shed. He just basically said it doesn't meet the setback or the side yard. You can possibly overcome that if you can convince us that this is an existing, pre-existing conforming structure, and you want to enlarge that, but not create another variance. So if you wanted to bring this further back on your property, if you want to replace what is currently there, but in order for us to understand that, we've got to see what the actual distance is, and we've got to see the size of the shed. And we don't have anything in front of us to make that.
And there does appear to be a contradiction in what the two of you have represented. I believe you've represented that the shed is 5 feet in from the property.
No,
line.
I didn't represent
Okay.
that at all. No, don't get me wrong,
No,
please
but
not.
okay, that's the problem. we
No,
have.
no, 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 no.
No,
No.
I'm not, don't misunderstand me. We can't decide, if you were to have a plot plan done, not a survey, a plot plan, an engineer, an architect, or whomever would do that, is gonna stamp it, and they're gonna certify that what they've done is presented on that picture. They're gonna tell us what the distance is between this new shed and your property line. They're gonna tell us the square footage of the shed. They don't have to survey your property to do that. They may take it off an existing plan, whatever, but they have to tell us what the dimensions are of that shed and the distance, and what the difference is gonna be between that shed and the current shed. You may be entitled to a special permit, but in order for us to act on that, we've got to see what it is what you're doing, so that we know that it's under the special permit regulations and
I
statute.
think, and please don't get me wrong, because I certainly don't want to, I just don't understand what it is that I could provide you with that would give you more information other than the two plans that you have in front of
It's
you.
simple as this. Can you tell me on that plan, show me on that plan, what the distance is between your shed and the property line?
Well, I could,
No, just,
No,
is it on the plan?
It's gonna be certified. It's gonna be certified.
Is it on the plan?
the
And
question,
it isn't, well, everything we've looked at, it's not on the plan. That's my
The
point.
plan predates the placement of the shed.
but even the plan from 19, going back to 19 whatever, doesn't show
But that's our whole
the
point.
existing shed.
We need to see a plan that shows, if you had come to us, if you had applied before putting the shed there, you would have been required to submit a plan that showed, here's the property line, and here's the shed, and here's the distance from the property line to the shed, because shed registration requires a 5-foot setback.
Right.
We don't know if you have a 5-foot setback.
Well, I'm telling you, I do not. That's the reason I'm asking you for zoning relief. I do
And
not.
we don't know how much the setback is. And if you stayed for these other cases or watched the cases we've seen before, in all cases, there's a plan where the measurements are there of existing and proposed. And
Okay.
it's not based on an oral
Basically,
estimate.
as far as I can see, that can only be done by an engineer.
Right.
An
Well,
engineer has to
yes.
actually locate the shed on a plot plan.
Or PLS.
So an engineer has to be hired, which is more of a hardship on me, that is just continuing, and this has been snowballing for so many years that it's insane. Our costs have been crazy.
But-
We understand, Mr. Winston, but you are operating two sizable commercial properties in the town of Harwich, and this is just part of doing business, as you well know.
I just do hope that the rules and regulations that stand for us will also stand for our abutters whose real estate and buildings, including decks, i.e., are on our real estate, actually
Well,
on
the
our own
answer to
real
that
estate.
is- the
I know, I
answer to
don't
that
want to, this isn't
Okay,
anything that I
I'm
want to
gonna
bring
s-
forward, but the bottom line is it's been going on for so long, it's very hard to ignore. It's very hard to ignore. And I feel, honestly, as you can, from the letters from everyone else in the neighborhood, there's no issue. We have a hardship. Our hardship is access to get our trash off the property. It's extreme hardship.
Okay.
I was asking for variance to locate the shed as is indicated, or in the alternative, a special permit, but in the alternative, a variance if necessary. I understand I'm going to be now coming back to you with more information, which probably isn't good, I know is not going to change anything. I know for a fact
It's going
that
to
the
tell us
land
something
that my
we
fence
need-
is on and beyond, I own.
I would just say, if you've been litigating this for that long, if you look through your stacks of records, you might find that you already have the information. And I think what the rest of the board is saying is that even if we wanted to grant
Well, I'm-
the permit tonight, we need the hard numbers and data to be able to
That's
do that.
fine, we'll go ahead
because
and-
it's,
And provide it for
Let
you.
him finish, please.
it's, we require that of all
No,
applicants.
I'm
and
not,
it's-
I'm not asking for any special, just believe me,
We're-
I just presented what I thought was
Okay.
a pretty clear-cut case for hardship, if nothing else. But I will come back, if that's the wish of the board, and provide you
So
with
we
more
will-
information.
Mr.
Motion
Chairman,
to continue this particular hearing?
Mr. Chairman, could I make a few comments?
We're going to continue the hearing. So you can come back the next time we have the hearing to make this decision? Okay? Second? Okay. All in favor of
Aye.
continuing the
Aye.
hearing for,
It may just
Till the
ask
next
for the
meeting.
date,
yeah,
It's going to be October the 31st.
October,
Can I get you just to sign that you've agreed to continue?
okay.
The hassle.
yes,
October 31st. That's good for me, okay?
it's completely different.
31st, 7 o'clock. We'll have you on Thursday.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it.
No, thank you.
Mr. Winston,
just
you
sign
may
that?
want to visit the building department to discuss with them any recourse you might have about your concerns about your neighbor's fences not being, or decks?
I've already filed the complaints, and they haven't been enacted yet, but we've done everything, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You want these, so in case you need to come back, you'll have to make other copies,
Oh, thank
you
you.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
Make
so
your
let
life
me
easier.
just, so it's. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, the next case is 21823. Anthony Crugnali has applied to amend or modify an existing special permit granted in February 2018 to include additional demolition of a pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling. The application is pursuant to the Code of the Town of Harwich, 325, Table 2, area regulations as set forth in MGL Chapter 48, Section 6. The property is located at 205 Forest Street, map 40, parcel Z1 in the RL zoning district. I have two pieces of information, one from, I have one piece of information, forgive me, from the Health Department. Katie Tenalia, again, has reviewed this application. The septic system was installed in 1991 and was designed for a total of 4 bedrooms. The site plan shows that the proposed plan does not have an impact on the septic system. However, it's the owner's responsibility to ensure that the garage slab has a 10-foot minimum setback to the septic tank and soil absorption system. As the plan is, the Health Department does not have any issues with the proposed demolition and rebuild. Should you require any further information, please do not hesitate to contact me.
Is there anything from historic?
I'm going to let Mr. Crugnelli
Okay.
discuss that.
Could you introduce yourself, please?
My name is Anthony Prugnali, the owner of the dwelling at 205 Forest Street.
Okay.
Also the builder, doing the project as you see today. Back in February 28th, I met in front of all of you, submitted an application for a non-conforming property, submitted plans to this group, and I think at that time it was granted approved. At that point, towards the end of the meeting, I think someone did raise a question if this may have been an historical list item. I think it was you that mentioned it. Nothing came out of the meeting, but I did get a call the next day telling me that there is a historic list application. So we proceeded, and I proceeded accordingly. I applied for the application. I don't know the dates, but I filled out the application. Apparently, from my ignorance, and this is completely my fault, when I filled out the application, it was more of a, not a historic district, it was more demolition, about what you're planning to remove, not about preservation. I kind of got that lesson really quickly, not too long ago. This was more about what you are removing. So I did the application with lots of photographs, as well as applying the application that was submitted before you, that was approved. That hasn't changed, by the way. Nothing's changed, by the way. The application, the demo permit, the building permit dated December of 2017 remains for the most part. And I say the most part, there was a couple little minor things that we had to do. But in general, it was fine. So the application was trying to be heard. I guess they didn't have a quorum, and by the time of timing, was it so many days? I believe, I'm not using the proper terminology, but it was approved just because it couldn't get a quorum. So we proceeded the work. Building permit was issued, and we're moving along pretty rapidly. I think what happened was the application wasn't clear enough of the extent of the demo, and there was a question raised of the scope of the demo. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was specifically on the first floor, not so much the second floor. My intent of the application, and I make this really clear in front of the board, was not to do anything misleading or something inappropriate. Historic list is something I'm not very familiar with. Historic district I am. But I focused a lot of description work of what was being removed, and I was focused more on the second floor. I left the drawing speak for itself by the assumption that obviously the first floor there would be some demo work. If you notice in the drawings, there is a nice 3D rendering showing windows and transoms. The ceiling height was always being raised from 7'10", I believe, to a 9'6" or floor to floor, whatever dimensions you see there. So there was a lot of extensive work that had to be done on the first floor framing, and as a builder, I made the assumption that that was gonna happen regardless. New siding and trim, again, the way it's shown on the application. Again, it was probably understanding that I should have been more descriptive, so then everybody would understand the extensive demolition. I was trying to preserve as much as I could to the first floor, but to my surprise, the wood that was there was very, very bad. It was deteriorated, so I did, without thinking about notifying the building department, again, it had to be new framing anyway to support the structure. I couldn't do it without it. When you raise the second floor, I have to sister the stud, they call it. You attach it to the old and carry the new. But the old was deteriorating and shattered and in bad shape, so again, we continued by proceeding the intent of the project. So it was at that point, I think that's when everything started to stop. There was an inquiry made, and then by reviewing the application, once again, I go back to the application, it wasn't clear enough. So since then, the job has been shut down, as you can tell. I'm not gonna give you the emotional story. There's a lot there behind it. I'm not gonna give you the financial story. There's a lot behind it. I just wanna start this project up again and finish it. And in front of you is the application again. I did meet with the historic group. It was not a comfortable meeting. I know people are very upset, and I don't blame them, or disappointed with the misunderstanding. But in the end, they did approve it, and I guess I'm here also to review the application as well. Hope I covered everything.
What specifically are you here for tonight?
Well, someone mentioned to me that, again, I can't remember exactly, but it was called to my attention that someone needed to review this application again, based on specifically amending the zoning permit, and I was surprised by that, quite frankly, because I have not increased the nonconformity. It's the same structure, it's the same application. The only difference here is that there was my mistake of how I applied on the historic application. So that went through and got approved, and that was a little over a month ago. If I can't remember my dates, as I get older, I forget what happens recently, so. But it was approved quite a while ago, and I'm here in front of you because I was not allowed to start the project as well, so that's why I'm here in front of you once again.
Who told you this? Who told you you had to come back to the Board of Appeal?
Mr.
I'm
Ryan.
not saying you shouldn't have, I'm just asking.
I don't know. I just know I was
Mr.
told.
Ryan.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
so, all right.
And your specific request is to amend the special permit previously approved, right?
Yeah, that's what I was
To
told.
include additional demolition, not previously approved?
Correct, which probably speaks to the first floor.
Okay.
Again, you also have to understand that when I sat in front of all of you here, I went through a description of what was going on.
Yeah,
And,
I
one of the
understand.
biggest problems I have sometimes is to try to be as specific as I can, but that's why I do 3D renderings. I show you the picture, so the picture is there. And I was frustrated, I was struggling with why there was a misunderstanding, because I was focused on the picture will be the same. The house will still be the same. But again, it was more preservation. And in
Okay.
respect with the historic group, I understand clearly what this is all about, and I wasn't very clear in the application, so I can understand the misunderstanding.
So are you asking us to amend the original special permit to include additional deconstruction or construction? Is
I
that?
would say, again, I've been told that I'm having a hard time why I'm here to do that, but if I had to say that what I'm looking for is to be consistent and
Yeah.
align all of us with the historic group, and
Okay.
the alignment wasn't there prior.
Okay.
So the first floor it was selective demo. Unfortunately, we had to do more than selective demo. I've spoken to Ray. Ray's been a great participant in this process. I appreciate his professionalism. And obviously, my biggest mistake is I should have notified the building department that,
Okay.
we gotta take more studs than we need to here. But just understand that the windows and the transoms, that whole framing system will get destroyed regardless. And I should have been more
So
clear.
has the work been done?
Yes,
that
it's all
you-
completed.
It's completed, so
Yeah,
you're-
right now, there's a shell out there. All my, I shouldn't say complete, but as far as demolition's concerned, it's 99% complete.
Okay.
There might be a couple of windows I gotta put in that didn't get in there yet, but as far as the structure, I'm actually on the second floor. The two peaks are up, ready to get framed, and that's where it stopped. So if you
And
drove by
have-
there,
The Historical Commission has approved what
Yes.
you've done.
correct, yes, yes. As far as I understand,
Okay.
that's what I've been doing.
Ms. Muller?
Mr. Crognoli, Crognoli, is that how you
Crognoli,
say?
yeah.
Crognoli.
Yeah,
I'm-
yes.
I'm at a little bit of a disadvantage here because after we approved your request for a special permit in February, I think we returned to you all the drawings. So we don't have the drawings that I at least, don't have the
I
drawings
may-
that you submitted then. And then
We do-
this,
Oh, yeah, okay.
and then this seems to be, either it's my failing senior eyes or it's undated.
I've submitted 14 copies from the first meeting and
January
14 copies in the
2018.
second meeting.
All the same.
I have a nice invoice from my printing company, colored 311 by
I'm
17.
sure you do, and, okay, this
December
is
2017.
Yes.
issued December 2017.
Yeah, did not
So
change.
this is what you
Same
submitted to
thing.
us
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
February.
Yes.
And it was somewhere in this part of the building that you had to do more demolition than you
So if you look at the
expected?
existing home,
Mhm.
may I approach the table for a second?
Sure.
That was more of a pointer. So if you, I'm turning it this way. So the demo for the second floor was basically roof, but definitely this roof came down. The first floor, the intent was, demo-wise, was to remove all the existing siding and skin, remove the windows, and basically recreate the look. As you can see, there are transom windows up above, and the floor height is higher. So this floor height is like 7'10". It's gonna be higher by this picture, and the drawings support all that. The confusion that the historic group had was that I wasn't clear enough to give them an understanding that the first floor was gonna be demo as well to support this work. And I was focusing more on second floor, because to me demolition was that the second floor was gonna totally different. So I wanted to make it clear what we were doing in the second floor. The first floor, again, I did explain it, but it was not very descriptive enough to give everybody the same page.
Okay.
Okay. One point on which I'm confused is that the February document says without increasing the footprint, and yet this does seem to increase the footprint.
No, this plan here, if you look at, that's existing, by the way. okay?
Yeah, this is
So-
not, this porch is
putting-
not coming out further from this surface?
Yeah, it is, but that's not the non-conforming, I'm still within the setback on the
Yes.
front. On this side, I'm not increasing. This is where the non-conformity
Okay,
exists.
so the footprint is increasing,
Yeah,
but
if-
not in that,
Right, if you flip
okay.
over, there is a 5-foot porch.
Right.
There you go. But this dimension here, that back, you're still within the setback.
Of course.
Yes, right. But that, again, was not changed. That's the same application you reviewed the first time as well. And the plot
Okay.
plan, and the plot plan also supports all that information.
Okay, thank you.
So, as a result of what you found in your work to date, are any of the setbacks changing? Is the building height changing?
Building height, there was one change, and I'm not hiding anything. There was one change I made on the new addition. It was 2 feet wider. If you look at the plot plan that was submitted in this application, so instead of a 24-foot, I had a problem with the hole. I had to make it a little bit bigger because of an existing, what do you call it? I'm trying to think about, I had to make it 2 feet bigger. So let me point that to you as well.
So is this document revised
Yes,
August 21
absolutely.
is more current?
Right here, see this dimension here?
Yes.
I'm sorry, where's the new addition?
This is the front of the house, this is the,
Where's the pool? Here we go, the pool. So this structure here got 2 foot bigger, so my setback to the property line, which has a lot of setback,
right.
I'm still within the setback. That was it. But that was not the reason why, but I brought this to your attention now just to let you know
But
that.
what was approved by the board in your original application,
Was a 24-foot
and
garage.
you exceeded that?
2 feet because of an unknown condition was
But you
there.
did, I mean, I'm just,
Yep,
okay.
Yep, I did. And it's in front of you, and I have all the supporting document with the surveyor showing the setbacks with the additional 2
Okay.
feet. As far as the height is concerned, that's a great question too. I actually, if you'd like to, I didn't put it as part of the application, but I am prepared to present it to you. The surveyor did go out and he did take a survey of the peaks, which are now the new proposed peaks, and I'm within 30 feet of the peak, of the total height. And it's stamped by the surveyor in front of you, if you want that copy.
Smaller, anything further?
No, thank you.
Mr. Donahue?
If I remember, much of our discussion last time was what I would call the left front side of the house. That's what we gave you the permit for.
The left side meaning the garage,
Sorry,
driveway
we-
side?
But if we face the house, it's gonna be the right-hand side in the back.
Yeah.
That side of the home. And Ms. Mayhew asked, with regard to the, commission, historical commission, do we have any documentation from the historical commission they have in fact?
They are on the town website. There's the meeting that they had. They have only one ability, and that is to either impose a 365-day demolition delay or not. And they discussed doing that again, but they chose not to.
No further questions?
Thank you.
No questions.
Thank you.
Are there any fines for not properly disclosing work to the Historic Commission? Do you know, Sheila?
That would be up to the building inspector.
That was discussed also at the meeting. Correct.
Because I feel like you submitted the plans and then went ahead and did the
Yes.
demolition without permission. That's what I think you did.
Okay, all right.
Am I wrong?
No, yeah, I think you are wrong, if you might say so. Like I said, the intent was.
The
I
intent, but
get-
you're a builder, right?
I'm a builder,
You're an
but-
architect.
Yeah, and the builder's
What are you?
mindset, when you look at windows and you look at transoms, I didn't know anything about a historic list at the time we met that night. So when I left, ready to get the building permit ready to go, I received a call, I think it was from Shayla, a call, that I had to go through the historic issue, which I was confused. I said, it's not in the historic district. And he said, no, you're on the historic list. So when they defined what the requirements are, I was not clear exactly what I needed to do, other than the fact that it's just for demolition purposes. So when I think of demolition, I'm talking about total tear down complete. So the second floor was a tear down and complete. But when you look at the application I submitted at the time, I took plenty of photographs and attached the photographs with footnotes. And even in the photographs, I made a comment on the first floor that these are gonna be replaced with windows, with transoms, new siding, new trim. That to me is demolition too, behind the scenes, but I didn't think that I needed to describe it in detail enough on the application. So that's where my mistake was I wasn't descriptive enough, so I assumed it was okay, rather than figuring the second floor was really the main intention. So no, I did not do it intentionally. I did not do it because I freewheeling, and I would take that comment as a negative, because I plan on living here. This is my home. So I'm not here to create hardship with anybody or misunderstanding. If I knew that moving forward, I mean, off a side note, the day at the historic group, there was a gentleman before me. I understood clearly what this application was about. He was granting approval to replace his bay window, which is an existing window. And I knew right then and there, before I showed up, that I knew that I wasn't really descriptive enough, because a lot of things going on that first floor that I could have went deeper in, and I didn't. So I just assumed it was fine, because the picture, as a builder, you look at the picture, when you raise the second floor, you're gonna do some serious demolition on the first floor in many ways, because you can't use the existing framing. The windows, you can't, it wasn't a replacement window, by the way. I'm taking the window out, and the window is bigger, same size as that. And on top of that, I'm putting another window on top. If you drive by there right now,
understand.
you'll see what I'm talking about.
I've seen it.
I just, and then, obviously, when I started peeling off the existing structure, well, surprise, surprise, there was more. So, again, there are many things I should have done. I should have just contacted the building department, immediately noticing I got a
That would have
problem.
held things up more, right?
Right, exactly. And, I work with the building departments all the time. It's
Okay.
about communication. It
Excuse
really
me,
is.
where have you done building in the past? What towns do you primarily work in?
In Boston, I've done it
Boston?
in many years. I've never.
City of Boston?
No, south of Boston, mostly in the south of Boston
What
area.
towns?
Mansfield, Attleboro, Quincy. I try to stay away from Boston, of course, but, but I've been,
And do they have historic districts?
I assume so.
You've never worked on historic home
I have
before?
never done historic, I've never done historic home, no. I have never done
By
that's why-
doing a historic home, have you ever torn one down?
No, no. That's why when I first acquired the property, one of the first things I wanted to make certain, even though I love the property and love the location, was I had a historic district. I really didn't want to get involved in it because I've always heard things about it. So once I found out you're okay, coming from a realtor, I guess, I proceeded with the acquisition. And I was surprised with the historic list, quite frankly. I didn't even know what a historic list was until I realized there's another form of procedure. So, okay, fine, so I'll go through it. And the building department was very helpful trying to help me prepare for it. I couldn't do it on my own, quite frankly. So there is there's a side of ignorance on my part as a preparing the
I'll delete
application.
that. I think you're not giving yourself enough credit. And you're licensed in Massachusetts as a builder?
Yes, I am.
Sir, could you tell us your understanding of why specifically your project was shut down?
The extent of the demo was not on the first floor. From my understanding, it was just the first floor demo. I think everybody had the intention that the first floor was to remain intact to some form or fashion. The framing of the existing structure would certainly remain intact. So I think it was more of the extensive work that was done on the first floor. There was no issues, I believe, on the second floor, and certainly no issues on the addition, of course. That wasn't an issue.
Was
there,
it
no.
the historical commission who complained, and that is what resulted in your being shut down?
Yeah,
Or were you in violation of this board's special permit?
No, not this special permit.
Okay.
I was notified by the building department that they received a call from a
Went beyond the special permit.
I'm sorry?
Well, that was my question.
Yeah. They received a call from somebody saying, I think that the scope of the work is beyond the limits of the
Okay.
historic
Beyond the
approval.
limits of the historical commission?
Historic commission, yes, correct.
Did anyone tell you you were beyond the limits of the zoning board of appeals special permit?
I was told I had to be here to reassure.
Well, I mean, you've already told us that you've increased the back.
Yeah, but that's
like-
not a non-conforming issue, but that's
Yeah,
true.
but it's a violation of the plan you
that's
gave
fine,
us. And
yeah.
that's, once you approve a plan, if you want to change the plan, you come in and ask for an
Right.
amended plan.
No, you know, say that.
So I'm trying to find out and get to the, why you're here, and I now know one reason why you're here.
Yeah.
Was there any other deviation from the plans that we approved that you built from?
Zero. If I'm gonna change the nails, I'm gonna let Ray know about it. I do
That's-
not wanna go
No,
through this
that's
again.
historical commission.
Well, I think the other deviation was to include full demolition of the existing house.
Right.
That was the change,
That was
and
the
so
change, yeah.
those are the two.
So that's the
That's what it
second
is.
issue. Okay. And you're not completed yet. You still have some upstairs
It's
work to do?
been stopped since July.
Okay.
It's-
Has the historical commission approved
Yes.
what you're going to do to complete it?
Yes, back in August. I forget the date, but yes.
Okay.
You were the last step of the process because I was told prior that I didn't have to sit in front of you, and then I received a call from the building department that they wanted to get you back in there again after the historic
So
group.
the plans you've submitted, all of these plans,
Correct.
these are as-built plans?
As
In the
far
sense
as-
that, in the sense of the zoning board of appeal,
Yes.
we're talking dimensional issues now. Side yard,
As-built.
setback, height, so on and so
As-built,
forth.
as-built.
These are the as-built
As-is,
plans.
not
And these
changing.
are different than what you originally submitted for your special permit.
For the garage, yes, correct, for the garage. For the demo, I want to say no, but yes, because there's a misunderstanding
all right.
with the
I
historic
just
group.
want to zero in on what it is.
I'm trying to be very careful how I answer it, because I don't want to mislead anybody in this group, as well as apparently I've been misleading people, so I want to be clear, yes, there was.
So you're here tonight requesting an amendment to your original zoning approval, special permit,
Yes,
in the sense of what you have done as opposed to what we approved. And those two items are the demolition
the demolition and the garage for the
and the
extra 2
garage
feet.
setback,
That's correct,
2 more feet than
Exactly.
was approved.
2 more feet, within a 56-foot
Yeah,
setback.
I understand, but it's still a,
But yeah, it's still an amendment, you're
it's
right.
still,
Yeah.
it's still the
I
plan.
don't disagree
I mean,
with
it's
that.
still the
I mean,
plan.
that goes
Okay.
without saying.
I just
yes.
want to I want to make sure we all understand that.
And just make a note that the building height hasn't been
Right.
affected within
You're
the
within-
zoning, and I have that here to present. that to
Okay.
you.
And if we refuse to approve it, then you have to undo some things. I'm just
Yeah,
making it clear, so we
Yeah,
all understand what we're doing here.
I think
If we
that,
disapprove it, you have to undo something possibly that you've done.
right, well, as far as the demo, I don't know what
Well,
I
you-
can undo.
I understand.
The setback,
Yeah.
it's, now, from my experiences, things do change with an as-built at the end that still has to be submitted to the
Okay,
town.
okay.
As long as I'm
And
not
did you-
violating the setback, I'm still within my right.
Did you give us the
Or
historic?
not, you have to be approved.
I understand that.
You can't just do whatever you want.
I understand.
And that's what you've done. That's what you've done.
Okay.
Regardless of your intent, which does not matter. Your intent does not matter. You
Okay.
went ahead and made plans regardless of what was approved.
I understand.
Did you provide us with a copy of the approval from the Historic Commission as to what you've done?
You gotta help me, I never,
To the best of my knowledge, they don't write, again, their
Yeah.
only power
They
is to
voted and approved it.
impose
Yeah.
a
Right.
365-day delay or not. So they discussed whether they might reimpose a delay on Mr. Crignelli, and they
Yes.
decided that that would be an imposition for his neighbors, and they decided not to do that.
Okay.
So they don't have,
right.
to my knowledge, a decision to file.
Okay. As
They
far
said
as
they were
we
gonna
know,
send-
whatever it is we do tonight is not going to have a negative impact on the Historical Commission one way or another.
correct.
Yes.
Okay,
Right, they
Okay.
approved it, and they were fine with it.
all right.
And this document revised August 21, this is really what you're
Done.
doing.
We can submit that to the building department, stamp as-built on it, and call it a day.
Are there any officials from the town that wish to speak?
Members of the public.
Okay, is there anyone here who wishes to speak in favor of the petition? Is there anyone here and wishes to speak in opposition? Okay. Maybe we can bring that mic over to him.
You can sit.
Yeah, you can sit with the mic if that's easier.
I lived in this house for 55 years, and it makes me very sad to see it torn down. And all my children have heard from all their friends that they graduated. I had 4 girls that graduated from Harwich High School, and they all have said Facebook has been buzzing with all the comments about what happened to the Harwich house we had. And I think it's a crime, and I don't think he should get away with taking any more of it down or changing it any more for that neighborhood. It just doesn't fit. It was a beautiful little old farmhouse in Harwich, and it's sad.
What is your name?
Ann Curran.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition? So we understand, what further demolition?
Nothing else.
No, nothing further in the demolition?
Again, the only demolition I need to do, it's not demolition, I just have to put a couple of windows in the framing, so I have to cut some studs to open up a window, but as far as the structure itself, there is nothing else.
Did you hear that, ma'am? There's no further demolition?
No further demolition.
There's nothing left. There's nothing left.
No,
of
I
the
know
house.
I understand, I understand. I just thought you had said something about any further demolition, that's why I asked, okay, all right. Anything else you want to add?
No, I just apologize to the entire community. I thought it was clear at the application, and again, I wasn't clear enough in front of the board here. The plans have not changed. I mean, with the exception we just talked about tonight. I mean, the
Okay.
picture, the house isn't changing. It's a beautiful home, and I think we all sat here agreeing it was a great-looking property and great location, and great for the community, and I apologize that There's some people that think otherwise of what I did. I
But it did
apologize for
change,
that.
you did change the plans. You said you didn't, they haven't changed, but they have changed.
Again, the demolition part, the picture you see in front of you, my mistake was not to be more descriptive, not to understand what's involved to make the picture look like what I plan on building.
But also
So
the
that was-
2 extra feet on the
The
garage.
2 extra feet in the garage was, yes, that is.
Anything else coming?
No.
Okay.
You know, I'm trying to be very professionally. It sounds like you think that I've done something. You're right, I can't say, if you're going to give me an absolute question, I have to give you an absolute answer. The answer is yes, it did change.
Thank you.
Absolutely,
Okay,
for the record.
we need to
But
move on.
we need to move
Pennelly-
on. I
Mr.
just-
Pennelly, I don't think we're trying to pillory you.
But I feel
think
like
we're-
I am. I'm trying to do the
Well,
community.
We're just trying to understand.
Well, I'm
It's-
trying to explain everything, but someone has a direct opinion about it, and I respect that opinion, I really do.
It's not an
And I'm
opinion, it's a
okay.
fact.
Okay,
right?
we need to move on.
Yes, thank
But
you.
to summarize,
Yes.
it's not in a historic district. It is deemed historically significant. The Historic Commission is satisfied to let it go.
That's correct.
The issue for this board is that there was more demolition of the first floor than was anticipated, and that you did not abide by the plans you had submitted for the rear.
Correct.
And that's where we are.
That's
where we are.
correct. That's as
Okay.
simple as
Okay.
that. That's
And
correct.
that's what the
That's correct.
issue is before us. Now,
And for Mrs. Curran, of course, it's a personal issue.
Yes, yes, I respect that, and I've never met her personally. I know I purchased the property from her, and I understand.
motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
What is the board's flavor? Any further discussion you wish to have, or is there a motion?
I have one question, and I'm not sure if you guys know the answer, but what are the chances this plan would have been approved if it was a demo and then a rebuild? Because that's what's happened.
I don't, speaking for myself, because we had approved it initially, and the only difference is a demolition, which we approve oftentimes, if not all the time. We have some tags on it about what months you can do it, so I think we
But
probably
that was
would
an
have.
existing nonconformity, or an
Yeah,
extension of the
it would have
nonconformity.
passed that, because he has plenty of back on the rear yard, and he was gonna go back 2 more feet. We'd approved that, we probably would have approved the same thing. I think what's, the issue is that work was done over and above what was approved.
Right.
And that's why I had mentioned, and again, I'm not pushing either way, I mentioned if we don't approve it, then it becomes an issue with the building inspector as to whether or not he is gonna go and say, tear down, or tear parts of it down.
Right, and I don't think that's necessary. I just think there has to be some
I understand.
recourse for not abiding by the
Well,
decision.
there is recourse. The building inspector can impose fines for every day you continue on a job that they shut you down. I mean, there are all sorts of things that the building inspector can do as a zoning enforcement officer.
If you visited the site, it appears that the shutdown was
I've seen
fast
it.
and hard.
Yes,
I've seen it.
right. I think the big issue here, not bigger than ours, but equal to, if not, was the historical nature of the work and the fact that the historical commission looked at it and was concerned. But since I'm assuming now that they are no longer concerned. Anyone want to make a motion of either side or either way?
That would be the motion, basically.
I'll make a mo,
I would have liked to hear from the building commissioner, but
I'll make a motion we approve the special permit.
We have to be specific.
Yeah, you can make that.
Make a motion, the special permit to complete the current demolition and to further complete the property as,
And the wording's written right down on the bottom, yeah.
for the addition demo already completed and the additional height of the garage as per the plans provided with no changes.
That's the motion. Do we have a second?
second,
Who was the mover?
Al.
Mr.
Al.
Okay.
Right. We have a second.
Here, let me take that.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Question, one quick question, actually, if you don't mind. Thank you all. It's an amendment. My question is, do I need to wait for the 20-day appeal? Could I proceed
You do.
Could I take that at my risk? It's just the timing thing,
That's up
because
to the
winter's...
building inspector.
Okay, so I need to talk to, okay. I just want to be, look, I just want to be transparent as much as possible. I'm not going to assume anything here. Thank you.
Thank you.
You want these back? Case?
Want to take these back?
We're just gonna throw them.
No problem. You keep it short.
Next case. Case number 2018, number 24. Francis P. Shea and Carolyn M. Shea, through their agent attorney William Kroll, have applied for a special permit or in the alternative a variance to demolish and replace a pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling. The application is pursuant to the Code of the Town of Harwich, Section 32551 and Table 2, area regulations as set forth in MGL Chapter 48, Section 6. The property is located at 22 Cross Street, map 14, parcel T4, in the RM zoning district.
Gentlemen, would you please introduce yourself?
Thank you, Mr.
Yourselves?
Chairman. Attorney William Kroll from Harwich Port, and I'm seated here with Frank Shea to my right, and his wife Carolyn Shea is seated to the right rear. I previously gave to the clerk a copy of the deed so that when the decision is granted, it's important that we include the book and page reference for the non-land court part of the property and the certificate of title reference for the land court part of the property, because otherwise the land court will not let me record the decision. So she has that. Now, I attached to the petition a copy of the assessors map. And we are at 22 Cross Street, which is territory that is special to me personally, because across the street, directly across the street, where the three houses across the street were where my parents, my grandparents, and my great-grandparents all lived at the same time back in the 40s and 50s. So you know the area very well. The petitions are seeking to demolish and replace the existing single-family residence at 22 Cross Street. Total demolition and replacement, as per the plans by Moran Engineering and the building and elevation plans by Residential Commercial Design and Consulting that were submitted with the petition. When you look at the certified plot plan, you will see that the existing dwelling is 24.4 feet from Cross Street. So it's pre-existing non-conforming. The proposed dwelling, we're going to pull back a bit so that it will become conforming. It'll be 25 feet from Cross Street. Southerly side, it's still going to be more than 20 feet. It's going to be 20.9 feet, as opposed to the existing 29 feet. But it will still be conforming on the southerly side. On the westerly side, it's going to be 56.2 feet, so well more than 20 feet. The northerly side, the existing dwelling is 9.1 feet, and the closest point of the proposed dwelling will hold that measurement. It will still be 9.1 feet on the northerly side, not coming any closer. It'll be 9.1 feet. But as you can see, it will continue along that, that northerly side a little bit closer and creating some additional habitable space on the northerly side of that dwelling. You see the hashed lines are the existing dwelling, the solid line is the new dwelling. So it's not coming any closer than 9.1, but it's creating some new habitable space. The existing building coverage, from the chart on the plan for proposed conditions, you can see that it will increase from 13% to 19.9%. Why 19.9? Because the maximum is 20%. So we're still under the maximum, we're conforming. And the site coverage will increase from 21% to 34.1%, but that, again, is still below the 35% site coverage maximum. So we're conforming on site coverage. So the only nonconformity is the expansion of the habitable floor space on the along the northerly side, as I mentioned. So the petitioners are seeking a special permit this evening in accordance with the Gale case and Section 32554 of the bylaw, since they will not be increasing the nonconformity of the setback along the northerly line, but will be increasing the habitable floor area. They are going to be remaining conforming on the southerly and westerly sides, and they're becoming now conforming on the easterly side on Cross Street. However, the proposed dwelling, in the petitioner's view, would not constitute a substantial detriment to the neighborhood. The number of bedrooms will increase from 3 bedrooms to 4 bedrooms, but Moran Engineering has made the determination that they have sufficient area to accommodate a 4-bedroom septic system. There is a notation from the Board of Health saying that they cannot increase it, the number of bedrooms, unless they meet the area requirements, and Moran has determined that they do. There is a denial letter from the building inspector in the file, but the bottom line is that the petitioners contend that there would be no significant or substantial increase in noise, odors, fumes, congestion, traffic, or the like, and would not create a nuisance to the neighborhood. It would not constitute a substantial detriment to the neighborhood if the new construction is allowed by this board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I take a moment and read that
Yes.
memo from the health department? 'Cause I forgot
Please.
to do that. Also from Katie Tenelia, says she's reviewed this project. A disposal system construction permit is required prior to the building application approval for septic upgrade. No variances from Title V or the local regulations will be granted for an increase in design flow. Should a septic system designed for the increase in bedrooms not comply, the dwelling floor plans will need to be revised to comply with a maximum of 3 bedrooms.
Okay, thank you. Anything further?
No, thank you.
Questions from the board?
Yes. Besides the historical significance to Attorney Kroll, is this an historical district? And is it historically significant to others?
It's not. It's not. It's not in a historic district.
You want to cover that, okay.
And it's less than 100 years old. The assessors sheet says built approximately 1950.
Okay. I see proposed parking in 2 locations here.
Yes.
Does this mean less parking on Cross Street?
If it's increasing the parking from what it is at present, the answer is yes.
Okay, that's a tough little place to
Right.
park. Okay, no other questions. Thank you.
Al?
No questions.
Just one question. Is this going to affect my ability to easily get in and out of George's?
Definitely not,
Yes.
Mr. Foley. No.
All right, then.
No.
it is-
Yes, that was my, and the hairdresser.
No questions. No real questions.
Megan?
I think Kathleen covered my only question, so we're all set.
I have no questions. Are there any public officials here tonight who wish to speak in favor or against? Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in favor? Anyone here who wishes to speak against? Motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion from the floor on which,
We'd like to move.
You're getting a little taste for it. You're doing a good job.
Taste for it.
That's good.
okay, I hear a motion coming.
Oh, is it? Yeah, I guess so.
And we have to give the report.
It's been moved and seconded, the motion to grant the requested special permit to raise and replace a pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling according to the plans provided the board finding that the Gale case applies with an intensification of an existing nonconformity with no new nonconformity and no substantial detriment to the neighborhood. The board would impose the standard no construction between Memorial and Labor Day.
It's usually July 1, if I
Or
may.
July, sorry,
Yeah.
July
July
1
1, yeah.
to
September 15th.
September 15th, sorry, yeah. July 1, September 15th.
My experience has been it's no substantial exterior construction or substantial landscaping.
Yes, that's
Yes.
correct.
So that's the motion.
That is the
That's
motion.
the motion. Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Bill, would you like these back?
I'm good, thanks.
You don't want these?
Yes, we'll back. Go ahead. Thank you.
Cheers.
Mr. Shea, your wife, if she doesn't have a hairdresser in Harwich, across the street, radio, great. No, I go there. My husband goes there.
Looks nice. You already have mine. Yep.
I park in the back, but sometimes it's tough.
Okay, the next case is 2018-25, Brian Dolan and Elizabeth M. Dolan, through their agent, attorney William Kroll, have applied for a special permit or in the alternative a variance to renovate a pre-existing non-conforming boathouse. The application is pursuant to the Code of the Town of Harwich, 32554B, and Table 1 use regulations as set forth in MGL Chapter 48, Section 6. The property is located at 464 Long Pond Drive, map 104, parcel K13, in the RR zoning district. There is one piece of, sorry?
Go ahead.
Any more correspondence or any
There are actually two pieces of correspondence. One is from the Conservation Commission, saying that it has been approved on an RDA, which means, I'm not sure, number 2018-3, with no plumbing allowed.
It's a request for determination of applicability.
Okay, that's the one. And Ms. Tenalia made some notes saying if there is no plumbing in the boathouse, there is no disposal system construction permit required for that one structure.
Any further?
That's it?
That's it. Gentlemen, would you please identify yourself for the record?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Attorney William Kroll, again, from Harwich Port, and I'm representing the owners, Brian and Elizabeth Dolan. They could not be here tonight, but their builder, Mike Dwyer, is seated with me.
Good evening.
FM Dwyer Company from Centerville, Mass. And I want to be clear that we have two petitions relating to this property consecutively before you tonight. The one we're talking about right now is to renovate the existing boathouse. There are three plot plans that three versions of the plot plan that I submitted. The first, this is off of Long Pond Drive, and abuts Long Pond. And it's important to understand that the boathouse is right down there on the pond. It's an pre-existing structure and a pre-existing non-conforming use as a boathouse. So that's on the northerly side of your plot plan. And then the southerly side, closer to Long Pond Drive, we show the next petition, which is for a bathhouse. Okay? So this one we're talking about right now is for a special permit for the boathouse, to renovate the boathouse. The next petition is for a variance to construct a new bathhouse. right? So just address the boathouse first, which is a special permit. The boathouse exists. My clients purchased the property a year and a half ago, just to have access to Long Pond and have a boathouse on Long Pond. There is no residence on this property. There hasn't been. But that boathouse has been there for years, and it's been used by the owner prior to them as a boathouse, storing boats, equipment, and so forth. My clients are great water skiers, and they want this property so they can water ski on Long Pond. The plans show you that for the boathouse, there will be no expansion to the footprint of the boathouse. Remains the same, no interior alterations. There'll be no plumbing in the boathouse. The alterations will be to the existing walls to install new windows, doors, and the dormers as per the plans. This request is pursuant to a special section of the bylaw, which is section 32554, B, as in boy. I had a very similar one before this board about 3 to 6 months ago down in Skinnequit Pond, the same thing, and was straddling the herring run. And it was a boathouse on a lot by itself, no principal structure on the lot, no primary residence. And this section of the bylaw says that if you are not a single or two-family dwelling, which we're not, and you have a pre-existing non-conforming structure and a lawfully non-conforming use, then you can change or alter or demolish and replace the structure with a new structure. We're not seeking to demolish and replace. We're just altering the windows and the doors and adding dormers on either side of the peaked roof. That section of the bylaw says you can do that with a special permit. Same criteria as the usual special permit. So we would argue that those alterations would not constitute a substantial increase in noise, fumes, odors, traffic congestion, or the like, would not be a nuisance to the neighborhood, and would not constitute a substantial detriment to the neighborhood. Or the emphasis being on substantial detriment. And the standard is not just, would it be a detriment of some kind to an abutter? It has to be a substantial detriment to the entire neighborhood. That's the petitioner's presentation this evening, and their contention is that they can comply with the requirements for a special permit under section 32554B of our bylaw, and that they will continue the non-conforming use as a boathouse, which is also a requirement under that section of the bylaw. Thank you.
Ms. Muller?
People pay $460,000 to have a piece of land with a tired boathouse on it?
They do.
And what bathroom facilities do they avail themselves of now?
That's petition number 2. Oh, presently?
Presently?
Presently, that would continue the non-conforming use of the property.
They go about waist deep into the pond.
So obviously, my argument for petition number 2 is going to be that it will be much more environmental friendly to have a bathhouse on the property.
I have no other questions concerning this one.
On the plan you're showing, it says existing building proposed alteration. I see the rectangle, rather the building itself squared. What is the building it looks like that is set under it, or is that an extension, or?
If you look at the second plan that I submitted, it shows a larger depiction,
Yeah,
and it says it's a deck.
oh, it is a deck.
There's an
All right.
existing deck there that wraps around the front
Okay.
and a quarter.
All right, I didn't know whether you were going off the foundation. I have no further questions.
That's a pretty tight property line, isn't it, with 462?
Yes, it is.
Um,
I believe that's why we're here, was one of the reasons was, that I think there's a corner that's within the setback.
I was curious, there's 3 walkways getting to the boathouse.
Did you make it, Mr. Donahue?
I did, sir. I did. Fortunately, it wasn't raining and there was no flood. I was just curious if they were gonna alter that.
Yes, I started this application process about 3 months ago, 2.5 months ago, and with a lot of help from the building department, we had a community meeting, and we went through all of the issues that we wanted to do. The process was to go through conservation for the boathouse first. The second part was to come to ZBA to get the approval to do the construction work. The third is we're working with conservation to build a boardwalk that's on the left-hand side, which would be the western side of the property line, in conjunction with another neighbor there, to build that boardwalk from the landing ramp of the driveway all the way down through the wetlands. And that would be built, it's being designed first by Moran Engineering, and then we would have to go through an approval process through the Conservation Commission to have that, approved according to their designs and their wants and wishes. And then we will be doing that once approval is from Conservation, to make ease of use to getting in and out of there and improve actually to eliminate the damage that's being done right now through the foot traffic.
Just one last thing for me, is there a chance at all that the property owner might want to put a house number or a property number up there?
On the
On the road.
the entrance there, yeah.
On the road.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I've driven by it a couple times, and I've been there quite a few.
I believe you, I don't know for certain, but I don't think you get a house number without a house.
Just
For 911
property number,
purposes.
in case an ambulance has to come down there should some incident take place.
Mhm.
Water skiing.
Right.
I'm sure there'll be a nickname for that, as you depicted the cost of it.
Thank you for that suggestion, Mr. Donahue.
Highly welcome.
Mr. Capoli?
No questions.
No questions. Anything further?
No, thank you.
Anyone here wish to speak in favor of this petition? Yes, sir. You step up to the microphone.
Good evening, I'm Gregory Stone. I live on the west side at 462 Long Pond Drive. And those 3 boardwalks you were asking about, when I had to go to conservation to get a dock permit for my property, they wanted me to put those 3 boardwalks in. So that's why those are there.
They
but
lead to your dock, is that it?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep. And, well, Don, the previous owner, and I shared that. It goes right down the property line. So we share that access to the pond. But as far as the project that they're doing, I would support the project, and I don't feel like it's going to be a detriment to the neighborhood. That building hasn't had any maintenance done on it. Well, I've owned the property since 2001, and there's been no improvements to it then. I think it's time. It needs a little extra love and care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in favor of this petition? Okay. Anything further?
You didn't ask if you want to speak against.
Yes.
I did.
No.
Is there anyone here who wants to speak against? Oh, I'm sorry. Would you please tell us your name, your address, please?
I'm Ann Doherty. I live at 476 Long Pond Drive. I am an abutter to the abutter, to the Dolans. My only objection to the proposal is that with the dormers, this is the second time it's been raised. The height of the roof was raised a number of years ago by Brett Hemian. Now it's being raised again, which means I lose for the second time the remainder of my view of the pond. And that is my objection to the proposal.
Ma'am?
Yes.
Okay, do you have a direct view from your house to the pond?
I do.
Okay, and there's nothing in between you and the pond other than this
There are
shed?
trees in between me and the pond.
Okay.
There's another lot in between me and, well, there's several lots in between me.
Approximately, how far away is your house from this shed, approximately?
I don't know.
I think you're gonna get some help with that answer.
I need help.
Sure.
I'm the husband. This is a copy of
That's
the
you.
area. This is the Dolan property,
Yes.
like, so I guess,
Yeah.
from the street.
Yeah.
Here's the shed,
That's the shed.
and here's our property here. The view that we have is right over there.
Okay, you don't have this
Okay,
view.
this is all wooded,
Okay.
all wooded, and
I'll start first.
that's the only opening. We're on a little bit of a hill, so that we're looking down on
Okay,
it.
may I pass this around?
Sure.
Anything else, ma'am?
No?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So it's a little,
Yeah,
thank you.
that's where they live, and that's the shed. Okay. Anything else?
Yes,
Please explain the issue of the height, if you could.
sure. First of all, I've known Mr. and Mrs. Dougherty for many years, and certainly respect their opinion. Can you folks hear me all right?
Yes, Bill.
Okay. And Attorney Dougherty's practiced law for many years in front of this board. So when I filed the petition, I was not aware that that they were abutters or that they had any concerns about it, because we were just putting in windows in the dormer. In any event, strictly from a legal standpoint, as the Doughertys know, there's no legal right to a view in Massachusetts. There's no view easement that's recorded here. And that for the board to grant the special permit, the board would have to find that, to deny the special permit, I mean, the board would have to find that the dormers would be a substantial detriment to the entire neighborhood. That's what the case law is. I asked Mr. Dwyer to go out and look at the property. He's very familiar with it, take some pictures, and he has some pictures that he would like to distribute to you to show you the density of the foliage surrounding this property. Go
May I
ahead.
approach?
Sure.
I have 4 sets of copies here, and I do this with all due respect. I'm not trying to take away anything from your view or anything like that. I just believe, in all honesty, that the dormers will not present as much of a disruption to her view as she's worried about.
You'll have to.
I have not been up at her house and
you
looked down,
all right.
but I've been down at the boathouse and looked up.
You'll have to explain the distances we have here, where these were taken.
Yes, I can very easily do that. And on my phone, I do have colored photos of that. The first picture is if you're standing on the edge of the water, looking down the front, I should say, it's actually the side, but it's where the front door is of the view. I believe the house is over the left-hand side of the peak through, you can't quite see the house from that area. That's the first picture.
The Doherty's house being up.
Up in that
here
area,
somewhere?
correct.
Okay.
Yes. The second picture shows that tree of the first picture to the right, the 2 trees to the right. That's the picture looking now towards the back of their house. And
Yep.
as you can see, there's really nothing there as far as the view goes, up to their house. The third picture is a little bit more towards the back corner, looking back up again. The fourth picture, you're out on the dock, and where you see the 2 sun skylights, that dormer is going to be from the ridge down and basically up from the bottom of the skylight, up approximately 36 inches. That's the dormer size.
So you're raising the roof by 36 inches, or you're coming out to the side?
Coming out with a dormer. With the roof, the ridge is not being touched at all. The reason we're doing this is twofold. One is there are two skylights there, which are old and they'll fail. And as you mentioned, the price of the purchase price and the cost of this project, they're spending quite a bit of money, and they want to make sure everything's done properly. The second reason is the windows that we're using will be operable, and they will create a cross ventilation upstairs in that attic, which gets extremely hot. The reason we're replacing the doors and windows, obviously they're aged. We're replacing with an Anderson or Pella type patio inward swinging doors with matching windows. So the owners are spending substantial amount of money to improve the look of the property.
Okay.
And then the last picture is the head-on shot of the entrance, and off to the right behind that tree, upwards is where their house is.
So if I may, Mr. Chairman, the peak of the roof, like this, is not changing. There'll be some dormers that'll go up like that, a little bit on either side. And Mr. Dwyer and I have had extensive discussions about it, and he is of the opinion that it's not going to create any significant change in their view by having these dormers just come up 36 inches from the side of the roof. That's all.
Okay, anything further?
No.
Sir,
If I may.
please.
Every little bit helps on a view, as you well know. I think this is in your package, was this
Yes.
part of the thing? That shows the dormers coming out. This is the rear
Mhm.
of the building, of the shed, which is where we have our view. You know, we're looking at the back of this shed from our
Yep.
house.
Okay.
So these are the culprits right there, those two guys sticking up there. It's those two triangles that will be disturbing our view. Small disturbance, but nevertheless disturbance. And we are situated fairly high above that. Our back lawn slopes down to the pond. Thank you.
And as you can see, it is heavily, heavily wooded back there. So it's not a straight shot of a big barn wall as the picture
We're looking
shows.
over the trees.
Yeah, I'm not trying to disagree, I just,
No, no.
Yeah.
you know, it's not, I wouldn't want to put a barn in front of my house.
Do you have a picture from the elevation of the dormers looking back up at their house?
No, the dormers aren't there yet.
No, but
Yeah.
roof height,
Well,
right?
you're about 7'4" on the dock, and I'm 6'2", and I had the camera right there. So that would be
Okay.
another 2, maybe 3 feet above where I was taking the picture
Okay.
from.
Anything further?
Just that, in the petitioner's view, it's, no pun intended, it's not a substantial detriment to the neighborhood.
And if I may add, the conservation was very strict. I'm allowed to take any branches that are on top of the building or touching the building, but nothing more. So I can't do anything about the wooded area.
Right.
And they do not want us to do anything as removing brush, trees, or anything. And the brush, you go around the backside of that building and the back gable end, I mean, you're talking, 6 inches or so, and it's wooded.
Question.
Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Why are you putting the dormers on? What's the
The
purpose?
dormers are to get the windows, operable windows, so that we get airflow in it. It's a boathouse.
Yep.
And the current owners, they have a very expensive, what they call not just a ski boat anymore, it's called a wake boat. They could surf behind it.
Yep.
I don't know if you're familiar with that or not. It's an up-and-coming sport. I think Long Pond is about the only pond, possibly maybe Lake Wakeby, that you can run this boat on. But it's extremely expensive. That shifts weights around in the boat to create a wake that you can actually surf behind, like 5 feet behind the stern. So the owner grew up on Long Pond, skied all his life on Long Pond. They've been property owners here for as long as I know of, forever. And he wants to continue that with his children. And I believe there's a brother that's also involved with his family that will be down there using the boathouse during the day. So with the kayaks, the sailfish, the life preservers, everything that goes in there, as well as the comfortability to enjoy the boathouse for the day, They want to upgrade it, make it look nice, and have area for storage. There'll be racks inside the first floor to hang kayaks and whatever the case may be, and upstairs is going to be, you know, nice and airy, where they have the ability to open up so they can hang life jackets. They can sit up there, be comfortable, store ropes, and get, you know, a true functioning boathouse.
As has been pointed out several times, the owners of this property have spent significant amounts of money on the acquisition of the property. Apparently they have a very nice, expensive boat. So I don't see why they couldn't put operational skylights in there and then not affect the Doherty's view.
There is no electricity down there right now, and that would be all contingent upon whatever we get allowed to do with the boardwalk. They would like to bring electricity down, but that's part of the conservation issue, because we have to bring the electricity down through a legal method, which can't be underground. So it can't be above ground, obviously. It's got to be along a conduit alongside the boat. So that at this time is unavailable.
Well, I do remember in a house I lived in at one time that they had operational skylights using a crank.
Yes, and that is an option. The problem is skylights are notoriously for leaking. This is going to be used, what, 2-3 months a year?
It sounds like they have enough money to buy the best skylights available, in which case the Dohertys would not lose their view, and it may not just be them. They may be the only people here tonight. This may be creating a substantial problem for many abutters. So,
Well, if they were notified. If
Yeah,
they're not
oh,
here
yeah.
tonight, then that's their problem.
I understand.
I just question how much a property owner has to make accommodations for things that folks don't have a legal right to have.
I never recommend skylights in any job I've ever worked on. I make a living taking them out and replacing them with the enclosed rooms because of the problems they have down the line with them.
Well, it's my opinion that with the amount of money they seem to have to be able to spend and the desire to make this a nice property, that they could come up with a system that would not affect the Dohertys and other neighbors who owned this property for many, many years. And that's my thinking.
Anything further?
No, thank you.
Motion to close the hearing.
So move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Who'd like to read the motion?
Before we make a motion, I want everyone, no, sorry, everyone understand that you can make a motion either way. I mean, it's just, or however one wants to go. I mean, we're not strapped to go either way here, just to let you know. Need 5 votes or 4 out of 5, or 2 to kill something. So I just want to remind people that. Having said that, who wants to make the motion?
I'll make the motion.
And you are going to have a discussion on the motion, Mr. Chairman, right?
That's part on.
Motion to grant the requested special permit to the renovated and pre-existing non-conforming boathouse according to the plans provided the board, finding that this project complies with section 325-54B of the Harwich bylaws with pre-existing non-conforming non-residential building and a continuing non-conforming use.
Second on the motion?
I second.
Any discussion? Any further discussion on the motion? Okay,
No, I don't see where it's a detriment to the neighborhood.
I'm sorry?
I don't see where it would be a detriment to the neighborhood personally.
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, I can understand what the Dohertys are saying, certainly, but I think given what we have to work with, we don't have much to
Anyone
talk
else?
about.
I would be siding with the Dohertys.
looking at a strict interpretation of the special permit requirements, I don't believe the issue of how much anyone paid for anything should be part of the, it certainly is part of the discussion, it shouldn't be part of the decision. And I certainly understand that, and I certainly understand looking out your window and looking at a particular view one day and then looking at a particular view the next day isn't always a good thing for anyone. You may not have a right to it, but it's something we enjoy.
We had a lengthy discussion about another property down in Harwichport, where the people
Yes.
could see out their kitchen window, and a man was building by right a larger house down near the water, and his neighbors objected because it was going to change their sliver of a view, and then as now, view is not protected by law.
I understand that, I completely understand that, but I would, in my capacity as a board member, use.
Absolutely.
I would.
You're right.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm going to use my discretion to
why you're
say
here.
that it would be a detriment to the neighborhood, to at least one, if not more, so.
Okay.
I love when Attorney Kroll comes in, because I've never had to worry about a case he's brought before us.
Okay. Any further discussion from the board?
No
Okay.
further.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Opposed?
Okay, passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're sticking around for the next one, is that correct?
Yes,
Both of you?
yes.
Okay.
Case number 201826, same applicants, Brian and Elizabeth Dolan. Through their agent, Attorney William Kroll, have applied for variance to construct a shed bathhouse on a lot with no principal structure. The application is pursuant to the Code of the Town of Harwich. Section 32552 is set forth in Mass General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 10. Property is located at 464 Long Pond Drive, map 104, parcel K13, in the RR zoning district. There is a conservation note. Or was that for the last one? Sorry. That was the last one.
So conservation hasn't ruled on
Right,
this one yet?
right. And the note from the health agent was for both. The last project doesn't have any plumbing, but for this one, she says, an approved disposal system construction permit is required prior to the building permit application approval. No variances from Title V or the local regulations will be granted. Should a septic system design not work in this space, a building permit will not be approved. Please don't hesitate to contact me with any questions.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I can continue on with this second petition concerning this
Yes.
property. Again, for the record, Attorney William Kroll, and I have Mike Dwyer, the builder, with me. This is the same property owner, the same piece of property, just different part of the property shown on this plan here. It shows you with the bathhouse close to Long Pond Drive.
It's at the opposite end of where the boathouse is.
Opposite end, yes. In this petition, the owners are seeking a variance as opposed to a special permit pursuant to section 32552 of the bylaw. There's no principal residential structure on this lot, as I mentioned earlier. As far as the criteria for a variance to have a freestanding bathhouse, our contention is that the lot is long, very long, rectangular. It contains a large amount of wetland, as Mr. Donahue was confronted with, and it abuts Long Pond. Very unique in that respect. Also, the fact that it has just a boathouse on it with no primary residence is unique as far as that property is concerned. The structure, being a boathouse, is unique in that respect. The boathouse, as mentioned earlier, has no plumbing facilities, and the restriction is that it will not have any plumbing facilities. So there's a need for a bathhouse on this property, especially since these folks enjoy their recreational activities. So our contention is that the petitioners have a hardship in that it would be costly to rent a porta potty, a portable bathroom facility, and keep it there, and/or extremely inconvenient to travel off-site for bathroom facilities. I would compare this to the public landing halfway down Long Pond Drive where our public beach is, and there is a freestanding bathhouse, very similar to what we're proposing here. And I think the petitioner's contention is that because of that hardship, which the statute says it can be financial or otherwise, it's certainly a hardship if you don't have bathroom facilities. The variance could be granted with no derogation, substantial derogation from the intent or purpose of the bylaw. They already have a boathouse, and it makes sense to have a bathhouse that is used in conjunction with that. And why is it so far away from the boathouse? It's because of environmental concerns. The variance, we would contend, could be granted with no substantial detriment to the public good. Certainly it would protect, as far as the public is concerned, it would protect the environment more than people not using the proper facilities. So we believe that we've met the criteria for a variance to allow the board to grant the same this evening. Thank you.
Anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor? Yes, sir. Please give us your name and your address.
Again, Gregory Stone, 462 Long Pond Drive, the butter just to the west of this property. I think that it makes sense for them to be able to have a place to use facilities other than the woods, or to get in the car and drive down to the public landing that's about 2 miles away. So it makes sense on a level, and I would support the variance.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak in favor of this petition? Anyone to speak in opposition to the petition? Okay. Anything further?
No, thank you.
Ms. Moore, anything?
I actually don't, based on what I've read, seen, heard so far, object to this, but I would point out that the argument that this is it would be a hardship to rent a porta potty is a little specious, because you look at the cost of the bathhouse and the renovations to the boathouse. The porta potty, probably not a big budget item as compared to that.
May I just add something?
Yes.
The cost probably isn't the proper word to use with that, the convenience. When we talk into conservation, conversations came up about, why we were doing this. And with individuals, it's ease of use. I'm sure there's probably 75 to 100% of the people that would rather go to the bathroom in the pond than walk up and use a bounce house 100, 200 yards away. That was the reason that we moved to the to the bathhouse, versus having a porta potty up there for the summer.
I certainly agree that it's better for health reasons and conservation reasons and the protection of the pond to have a bathhouse. No argument there, and for the convenience of human beings.
And just for background information too, the secondary factor of the boathouse came up, because I've had conversations over time with the owners. The previous person that was interested in buying this property had that property spec'd out for a septic system already. So they had already done the perk tests in 2 different locations up in that area, and they both passed. So, you know, the person I believe that was gonna do that was gonna put a house there, and then Mr. Dolan bought it instead. He doesn't wanna put a house there, he wants to use it as a recreation area. So we kinda morphed into this bathhouse thought, and that's why we're here trying to get that
Was
approved.
there ever any discussion of a new boathouse with bathroom facilities?
There was absolutely no discussion of that, because there was absolutely no way plumbing was going down to that area. There was absolutely, everybody I
Okay.
talked to, there was absolutely
I
no,
was
don't even
thinking
ask what they
maybe
said.
at an intermediate.
Well, we are 100 feet outside of the wetland area.
Mhm.
Excuse me, we are past the 100-foot mark, which comes up probably within 10 to 15 feet of where that parking area is, where the bathhouse is gonna be. So
Okay.
it really is the only location other than right up at the street.
No more questions.
You're requesting a variance pursuant to section 32552, which is the board's authority to grant a variance. What are you looking for a variance from? What is it you're asking the board to vary?
To have basically to have a structure on the lot that's not a residence and not an allowed use under our table of uses, a bathhouse, not
So-
an allowed use.
Are we requesting a use variance?
If that's how the board wants to find, that's okay.
As opposed to a structural variance that will be used in a different way?
We meet the setbacks with the structure. It's not an allowed use under the table of uses.
Right.
So that would make sense, Mr. Chairman.
So you're looking for a variance from the fact that it's not allowed in the sense where it's prohibited? Or
Well,
just not allowed?
Under our bylaw, if you're not affirmatively allowed,
Right.
then you're prohibited.
Okay,
There's a lot of weight in the dash.
I know.
you know.
It's Donahue.
I have no questions.
No questions.
I can't quite tell where it is located on the property, if it's going to maybe cause a problem with people trying to stop it and use it.
They can't see it from the
Is it-
street.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
there's such an incline down there
Okay, okay.
that it really would not be visible.
not
You have to
visible
actually
from the
come
road?
down the road to see it.
Is it visible from any of the surrounding properties?
If you're looking down towards the water, it is visible to the, I believe Mr. Stone, is he still there? Yes, it's visible to his house. It'll be visible to the house on the right, but it's through a wooded area, so it would be slightly visible to there, yes.
And the height is?
It's roughly 12 feet tall. It's a 10 by 12
12.
shed, basically. So it's really has no room to do anything other than put a small shower, toilet, and a vanity in, and that's it. And we're trying to dress it up to make it look nice by putting a little farmer's porch on there and, probably put a cupola on top or something, just to make it look appropriate for the area.
Bench for people waiting in line.
Yeah. When you see the for sale lemonade sign out there, then you.
I was just gonna say,
You don't trust the
my other
lemonade.
question is, obviously, this would be for private use, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And it will be shut down, right after probably September 15th and closed down for the,
Drain, okay.
yeah, because there is no insulation, there's no heat, there's no air conditioning. There will be electricity there, obviously, but it is,
How will you get access?
Right, it seems fair.
That's between you and Mr. Dolan.
How will you gain access? It'll be secured by?
It'll be
what?
locked, deadbolt and doorknob lock combination.
And the keys will be
I believe with the owner,
accessible just to the owner?
I believe so.
Above the sill.
Yeah, above the sill.
Right, we just want to know in case we're there and we have
The
trouble.
pet rock,
Yeah.
so when you do inspections in the neighborhood, you know of an escape hatch.
Information necessary to the board. yeah.
Right. Okay, I don't have any
Okay,
further
anything further? Motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion with the board?
Could I ask again who just did that?
I second.
Yeah.
Who moved?
I motion.
Okay.
It's rare that we have variances, and it's even rarer that we approve them.
Right.
this lot has a serious uniqueness to it. It's, when I first looked at the square footage of the lot, I said, my God, this is huge, and then I looked at the lines. I don't think you could build a house on this lot. If you did, it would be a very long, thin ranch, and the side would be, on the front, it would not be able to fit in.
If we did, we would meet the setback requirement
Oh, yes.
because the existing bathhouse is 639 feet from the road, so
Right.
we're more than 25
Yeah,
feet.
you definitely meet the setback in the rear yard, but you probably not possible. So that,
It's a long hike to go to
It's-
the bathroom.
I mean, clearly, there's a uniqueness about the way this property is designed. And then the question is, if it's a uniqueness, if you can't build a house on it, then is it fair to say that there are other things you could build on it, and of a lesser intrusion on the area? And certainly a boathouse, which is already existing, and a bathhouse, which seems to conform with the other dimensional requirements. So I don't have an issue with it. I think it's one of those rare times where petitioner is, in my mind, has met the variance issues, but I'll leave it at that.
It improves the situation.
Of which we will not speak directly.
So while the secretary is writing out the motion,
I'm trying.
Poor Shayla.
Of course, I write in shorthand when I'm doing it for myself, so writing it out.
who's gonna
So
make,
is it the
who's gonna
use-
make the motion?
Are we talking about a use?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, all right.
Use versus.
Almost
I would
done.
ask that it not only
Yes.
be a use variance, but to allow any applicable structural variance.
So they could possibly go up on this then, right?
When you
That-
say.
is that
No,
what
it's
that
per
would
the,
mean?
it's per the plans. If
Per the
for
plans,
some
no.
reason,
Yeah,
yeah, per the plans.
They'd have to come
right.
back,
But
okay.
if for some reason the building inspector had some issue with it structurally, I would like the variance to be, the scope of it to be broad enough that he'd feel comfortable
according to the plans.
according to the plans. Correct.
Yeah,
I think I wrote that. According to the list, I did.
okay. The new clerk of the board.
It has been motioned and seconded,
Oh, we haven't got a second yet, but we will.
oh, just down here, all right.
You're moving.
To the requested variance to renovate a pre-existing non-conforming bathhouse according to the plans provided, the board finding that section 325-52 applies with the non-conforming use and a unique lot and hardship, a variance will not derogate from the intent of the bylaw and not be a substantial detriment to the neighborhood or the public good.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I
Yes.
believe he read at the beginning that we were gonna renovate
Yes.
an existing bathhouse. No, we're gonna construct a,
We're gonna, that's a
construct a
Okay.
bath.
Okay,
so
can you
I'll-
just change that in
Yep, I
there?
can change that. To construct.
Carried away with all
It's been moved and seconded, the requested variance to construct a pre-existing non-conforming bathhouse.
No, it's
No, to
Yeah.
not
construct a
pre-existing.
bathhouse.
A bathhouse, so take away
All
the
right,
pre-existing.
um,
Forget the
I can take up.
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry.
It's been a
Keep going.
long day. Construct
I have no
a,
idea.
construct a non-conforming bathhouse according to the plans provided the board, finding section 325-52 applies with a non-conforming use and a unique lot and hardship. A variance will not derogate from the intent of the bylaw and not be a substantial detriment to the neighborhood or the public good.
That was a doozy.
is there a second?
Second.
Kathleen beat you to it.
She beat me.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, could we take a 5-minute?
2
break
minutes.
so we can inspect the bathhouse, please?
Bear with him, Mike.
Shayla's running up the door.
Yeah, I'm right behind you, jeez. Oh, you got one more, Bill. All right.
No, I don't.
Two more.
No, I
No,
don't.
you don't have any.
No, done.
What do you
Done.
mean?
No, the one on the back was
Please.
the bathhouse.
Oh, that was
Yep.
the
Sounds so
bathhouse. Oh,
happy.
jeez, I got,
The other one was the
yeah, he's done.
boat.
Alrighty.
least,
Yeah,
at least it-
right in here. and
That's right.
And then, you know, wake up in the morning, I feel perfect. I don't have any issues. After about the third step,
What's that, nerves?
yeah, it starts right, it's pinched, basically a sciatica nerve. It gets pinched, and it just time, it's the only thing you can do about it. This is stupid of me. I took a long walk. I live on a beach. I took a long walk on the beach. And I should have known that. And the sand is soft.
Yep.
And I just kept going and going. And I get to the end of the water. I said, I can't go back on the beach. This is crazy. My legs are killing me. My leg was killing me. So what did I do? I walked up on the road. And I walked back to my house on the freaking road. I stepped on this goddamn pebbles and sticks. Oh, Jesus.
That's a shame.
So I'm recovering. Tough getting old. Jesus. Are we having fun yet?
Hasn't been bad. Been interesting.
Yes.
We haven't had anything like this one before. The one we just had.
No, I know. And the other guy who, you know, it's disturbing. The trash shed, which is the simplest thing in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no difference in what Bill Kroll just presented, but we saw it. It's there in a plan. But, I mean, I was ready to say, take your trash and keep it. I don't care. I mean, it looks good to me, but I couldn't.
Well, that unfortunately sounds like a very heated.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of bad blood going there.
But you know, if a shed that's currently new.
Yeah. Being used.
It's
been used. It was
Oh,
always
no
a shed.
problem.
there. I
This
mean,
is,
the other shed apparently.
you know, last two meetings I've been to, I've been second to last, and they just dragged out, like, so historic meeting last week, it took an hour for the first one, because it was the Harwich Center 7-Eleven. And people actually came to this meeting, like, the guy's been here 3 or 4 times, and no one ever showed up.
So it'll be.
Yeah, I know.
You can just.
There's like houses, I think, there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Porch. Let them know that you're already in the, the pre-existing non-conforming.
Right, none of the setbacks are changing.
Intensifying,
Yeah, no, it's,
You're dealing with $1 million.
should be.
He's got to wait another month. And I didn't want to chide him too much, but his plans are outdated. Yeah.
The guy on Forest Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was going all over the place.
No, not Forest Street. This is right.
Yeah, we're only missing 2 people.
That's all right. We should have a supermajority.
Yeah, I was.
Sully said hi.
Oh, did he? I hope so.
How would you like to have him?
No, I saw him
knock
sitting
you
out
down?
there, and I was saying, oh, we don't want to get him upset.
Right.
Okay.
I got a kick out of the other one.
All right.
I can start reading in as soon as you
Yeah,
call
I
us
mean,
back.
I get the.
Megan's right, but,
No, she was, yeah, I don't even know anything about the guy, but she was right.
yeah, she was.
Okay,
the-
I'm gonna read in.
And that's not the first time we've had a builder who said, oops, I didn't know.
Okay, case number 2018-27, Joseph M. Young II
Yes.
has applied for special permit to construct a covered porch on a pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling, as well as to add 2 dormers to a pre-existing non-conforming detached garage. The application is pursuant to the Code of the Town of Harwich, Section 32551 and Table 2, area regulations as set forth in MGL Chapter 40A, Section 6. Property is located at 611 Route 28, Map 14, Parcel Z6 in the CV zoning district. We have one piece of correspondence from the Health Department, and she has said a fully compliant septic system was installed in 2018. The system was designed for 4 bedrooms with only 3 actual bedrooms. The proposed porch addition is on the opposite side of the septic system. Health Department has no issues or concerns with this project.
Would you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, my name's Joe Young. I'm one of the owners with my wife at 611 Route 28 in Harwichport.
Okay. You can tell us what you're here for.
So, the property we just recently bought back in July, and it's pre-existing non-conforming. You have the garage that's within the 20-foot setback. You also have the back of the rear of the house that's within the 20-foot setback. We're not changing anything outside of the garage. All we're looking to do is add dormers to the garage to dress it up. We do plan on finishing that space eventually. And then with the covered porch exists right now. If you could see where it has the, basically it comes off the front of the house. What we're looking to do is extend it down the side. It's not going to change those setbacks either, as it's already 24.9. Existing, it's going to remain 24.9. It's just the setback on the front is 25 feet, so I'm missing it by 0.1. That's basically what we're looking to do there.
So on the covered porch, you're just extending its length,
We're just extending its length,
not
but
any
coming
closer
back.
to the side yard.
It's nothing closer to the side yard.
And the dormers,
Or on the existing garage. Well, we would be putting them on the existing garage.
okay.
So not going outside the footprint or anything like that.
Okay. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in favor of the applicant? Anyone wish to speak in opposition to the applicant? Ms. Muller?
So this is where the porch would go?
So you have the porch right there. If you look at the very
Yeah, the porch
bottom.
is there across the front, and it's
And then it's coming around this side, yes, ma'am.
Gonna go around the side, so that's this yellow. This is the current porch, and this is where and this is Route 28.
Oh, you got it upside down.
Well, because I looked at it from Route 28.
Yes, that is it,
Okay.
correct.
I have no further questions.
Thank you. Mr. Donahue?
With regard to the garage and the dormers, once the dormers are put in,
Mhm.
you're going to have to redo the foundation of that garage to support
No.
no livable space. You're going to increase the footprint of existing living space.
I mean, it is gonna be a finished space. Someday someone's gonna finish it, whether we do it, I don't know. But it will probably get finished at some point. Right now, it's got pull-down stairs to get up to it, so it's not gonna get finished right now at this point. Because we gotta do all the work to the main house, because it was a 3-family, we're turning it into a single family,
And the purpose of the dormers is
dressing it up. It just looks awful compared to what the Nickersons did next door and everything, so.
I have no further questions.
No questions. Keegan?
No, I don't have any questions. Sorry.
Anything further, sir?
Nope, that's it.
Motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
So moved, and I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Hearing is closed.
Okay. Do we need to discuss
Any-
anything further?
Any further
Sorry, I wasn't
discussion
sure if that was my job.
from the board?
Nothing further.
Do I have a motion?
Sure. I'd like to move to grant the, I'd like to move to grant the requested special permit to build a covered porch addition onto a pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling, as well as 2 dormer additions to the garage, according to the plans provided. The board finding that the Gale case applies with an intensification of an existing nonconformity with no new nonconformity and no substantial detriment to the neighborhood. Oh, here, I thought I did something wrong.
We need a second?
I need somebody to second me, though.
Do we want to add to that with regard to the?
Yeah.
With what?
The restriction with regard to,
Well, is there any particular problem with constricted access during the summer months in that area? That's the only, we usually do it only for the campground because the streets are so tight.
I think there's significant parking there also.
yeah, okay.
But he's
they
got
have to-
parking off street.
It's a state, is Route 28 state, right? State road.
Yes.
Let's clog that up then.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like your plans back?
Thought you guys were
Long
too
wait.
easy on the guy on Forest Street, though.
Oh, well, I couldn't think of anything else.
I know.
Would you like this extra set of drawings?
You were too easy on the guy on Forest Street.
That guy knew what he was doing.
Yeah, he absolutely did. I
That
just,
builder?
Builder too, and
we don't have any recourse.
there's so many.
That's really the issue.
There's no recourse. Please help us get some recourse. That would be great. Yeah, it's too bad.
Okay, I'm gonna read him.
You drew the short straw for coming in last.
This poor gentleman is not feeling well.
That's all right.
He's not feeling well and he's gotta get up early to go somewhere, so I'm
Okay, we'll
gonna
move
say
it
that
along.
in advance, all right?
I'll live.
All right, case number 201828, Michelle Milligan, through her agent Edward Allen, has applied for a special permit
Excuse me?
to change a basement garage to habitable space in a pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling. The application is pursuant to the code of the town of Harwich, section 32551, and table 2 area regulations as set forth in MGL chapter 40A, section 6. Property is located at 205 John Joseph Road, map 72, parcel G13, in the RR zoning district. There is one piece of correspondence, again from Katie Tenelli in the Health Department. She says the dwelling is limited to 1 bedroom maximum due to environmental restrictions. Therefore, the proposed plan cannot be approved as shown. In order for the Health Department to approve the plan, several conditions need to be met. The basement cannot be a bedroom. Plan needs to be revised so that the basement is not labeled a bedroom. And a deed restriction with floor plans needs to be recorded in the Registry of Deeds prior to approval of the building permit application.
Would you identify yourself, please?
Edward Allen, project manager for Luxe Renovations.
Okay.
I submitted the plan requesting an office be built in the existing garage space. For some reason, it was an oversight by my architect. He labeled it a bedroom. That was an accident. I'll have that changed. And I'll also notify the homeowner that she's going to have to file a deed restriction in order to get this done.
And have you made that change in the plan? Have you-
No, I just got, well,
Okay.
this is the plan that I'm submitting to the building department, but the architectural plans are where it says that it's to be a bedroom, and I'm just gonna have to have my architect change that.
And again, just a point, the Health Department won't approve a building permit unless it complies with it.
Right, so that's why we're submitting it as an office, and then we just have to do the deed restriction, so it can never be sold as anything but a one-bedroom. And that's up to the homeowner to do. She has to make that decision whether or not she wants to
But
move
if we-
forward with the deed
Right, at the
restriction.
same time, if we see fit to approve this, we'll be approving it,
Contingent upon,
well, and not necessarily, but contingent on the fact that you're asking it to be used as an office.
right. Well, I mean, I don't own the home.
You can,
We're just
I
building.
understand, but if the plan that we have in front of us says bedroom, we can't basically have a motion to approve a plan that says bedroom on it. That's
Based on the
You can
architectural
amend-
plans.
You can amend that plan, can't you?
I don't have, they didn't give me a copy of the architecture. The only ones I have are the small ones. But I mean, it would just be a matter of crossing out bedroom maybe and writing in office space.
Do you have this?
I do, but I've got the small set, not the large ones.
What was available for public viewing was this, so you'd have to change it and come back.
Well, we can, we can do
It can be
a couple of things.
amended here.
We can basically say in the approval, if we approve it, that it is not to be used as a bedroom in conjunction with the health department.
Right.
it's rare that someone would tell you what you can use your space for, unless it's a health issue. So to say it has to be for an office would be unfair from us to you, because they could make it into a den, they could make it into a reading room or whatever, so.
Or whoever the next homeowner is.
Okay, okay. So, you have told us everything we need to know?
Unless you have any other further questions.
We may. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in favor? Anyone here who wishes to speak in opposition? Ms. Muller?
No
Comments?
questions.
Okay.
My only question is the procedural question about whether we can approve this contingent upon the requirement that this space not be used as a bedroom.
We can put any conditions on approval of permits or variances we wish. As long as they're within the law, we can do that. And we can certainly restrict it to be not used as a bedroom and leave it open.
And then we just file the deed restriction.
Right, and that would, so if you were gonna put a bedroom in there, the building inspector would come down and say, I can't give you a permit for it.
And they, in the building department, can look at this and deny it anyway.
They will, not deny it.
All right.
Mr. Donahue?
Was there any discussion of using that closet as a bathroom?
It's a half bath there.
It's a half bath,
A bath?
yeah.
No further questions.
Mr. Capoli?
No questions, thank you.
Quick question. So there's an existing one-bedroom right now, right?
Yes.
Okay, so she's going to finish the basement for whatever use she wants, or the owner wants. And so we could have a decision that's based solely on the approval of the health department, and we don't have to specify anything about that particular room, right? It's habitable space.
It's habitable space. Health department has stated that it cannot be used.
And they won't approve it.
They won't approve it as a bedroom
Yeah.
until she files the deed restriction.
Right,
But in
they
the
won't
meantime, she can finish the space.
No, she can't.
Oh, she
No, we can't get the permit
building
without the
permit
health.
was not
okay.
yet approved.
Health
No.
It
department
doesn't go
has to
forward. It
approve.
gets
Oh, so she has to
stuck
do
in
that
house.
next,
Building
and then she won't,
department.
okay, so,
So we can't even go get a permit
Yeah.
until we do the
Right.
deed restriction, get
Right.
the Board of Health's blessing, and then we go to the building department.
so we don't even really have to
There-
mention
there
a
doesn't have
bedroom
to
at
be any
all.
We can have as a condition, a special condition on the decision, that the space hereby approved cannot be used as a bedroom.
There is a closet going in underneath the staircase,
Mm-hmm.
just so you know that.
Yeah.
But it's just office space with the half-bath walkout.
In other words, we can put that condition, we can put any condition on it.
But do we need to, is my question, since
Sorry?
we don't need to put in a condition on it, I
Well,
don't think.
More precise
I
if we
think we'd
do,
be,
since
I mean,
it's
I think
consistent.
we'd be more comfortable because the health department has said it cannot be used. The only way that could get changed, and actually you're now raising a very good point, the only way that could get changed is if they petitioned the health department, if they increased their septic system, that
No,
would
they
allow
can't.
them.
It's the zone that it's in. It's the zone.
It's a zoning issue?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
because
zone
it's
two.
only 8 feet from the property line.
Oh,
The
okay.
corner of the house is only 5 or 8
It's not
feet.
about where it is, it's the amount of space. It's only one bedroom per 10,000 square
Okay.
feet. So they only have that much, they can only have one bedroom ever.
Okay. Then it doesn't matter whether we put it in, but my preference is that we put it in.
Well, they could do aggregate, they could purchase property in the same zone and
Yeah.
try to aggregate till they get there, but
Yeah.
that's complicated, so.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Move to close the,
Second.
All in favor to close?
Aye.
Okay. Motion?
Come on, you can read it. You can read it.
Okay. Okay, I move to grant the requested special permit. I move to grant the requested special permit to change the use of the lower level garage to habitable space in a pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling, according to the plans provided. The board finding that the Gale case applies with an intensification of an existing nonconformity, yeah? Okay, with no new nonconformity and no substantial detriment to the neighborhood. You look like I needed to fill that in more, but.
And do
Does
we
anyone
want
want
a
to follow
condition?
me up on that one?
Yes, I think the condition should be that in accordance with the Board of Health, the space approved may not be used as a bedroom, space.
With the
Without
filed deed restriction
Yeah, it can't be
stating
used,
as such.
Yeah. That's the Board of Health requirement there, but yeah.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
God, I'm getting tired, I'm sorry. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
We're good, thank you very much.
We're good.
Good luck.
Well,
Thank
you
you.
have to wait for a 20-day appeal period, you'll get a letter with the, for your.
I can do the deed restriction within that 20 days.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then you have to reapply for the.
Good luck.
Thank you.
To whom?
Shayla Delaney, the attractive, efficient, intelligent woman at the end of the
Okay,
table.
before we get,
Go ahead.
you've been so patient, thank you. Can I get, a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting?
Motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
I take them home.
Motion,
So moved.
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Last meeting's the last meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Good.
We do.
We have new business, but.
We have one final
We have Attorney Ford.
matter. Attorney Ford.
Okay, so now this is a new business. The board discussed a written request by Attorney Michael Ford on behalf of his brother and sister-in-law Stephen and Patty Ford, granted in August of 2018 to raise and reconstruct an existing garage at 207 South Street. The Fords had written to the board with a request for an extension on September 11th, 2018. Chairman David Ryer reviewed the applicable law, which is Chapter 48, Section 10, and determined that because the variance was granted on 8/30/17 by the board, the time had passed for the applicants to request an extension. Attorney Ford contends that the granting of the variance did not occur until the chairman signed the decision and had it stamped by the town clerk. So the job is to decide whether to support Mr. Ryer's reading of it or to listen and approve of what Attorney Ford has to say.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I appreciate you hearing this evening. It is time sensitive because if one of these requests is not acted on in 30 days, then it's deemed to be denied. So I appreciate you putting it on the agenda for tonight. This is all about when the 1 year runs to exercise the rights under a variance. And my experience, and I cited the Massachusetts zoning manual written by Marty Healy and others for the source of my opinion, along with my experience, and that is that the 1 year has generally run from the time it's recorded with the town clerk. And it makes sense that that's the date, because prior to that, you don't have a written decision. You don't have anything filed with the town clerk. You can't go to the building department. The appeal period hasn't started. And so to suggest that the date starts back at the time of the vote, when there is no written decision, frankly cuts into the year that somebody has. So I suggested to Mr. Ryer when I got back to him that I'd appreciate it if the board would consider the request as opposed to simply Mr. Ryer, and the board has apparently done that, and I appreciate that. And secondly, that I was very comfortable if he just reached out to town council and just asked town council if where he thought the board's authority was on that. I don't know whether that was done, but
It was not because of the timing.
the
of it.
timing, I appreciate that. Thanks, Sheila. So I have from the Massachusetts zoning manual the section that I cited and sent to Mr. Ryer. I'm happy to share that with you, Mr. Chairman, if you want to put that in the
I think
record.
that correspondence has been sent.
I think I sent that as an email
Yes.
to
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah, we have it.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, I mean, this frankly, to get off the law for a minute, is just a situation where Sheila is correct. This is a request filed on behalf of my brother Steve and his wife Patsy. They moved back from Pittsburgh. They built a house in Harwich, came in before the board. The board after revising the plan, I think 3 of you were on it, to make it less back into the setback, did see your way clear to granting a variance. It was a 5-0 decision. There was no opposition. They focused on finishing the new house this year, along with the landscaping, and frankly ran out of time to exercise the rights under the variance. So this is completely discretionary with the board, but they would ask that you extend that so they don't have to refile and go through the whole process all over again.
Anything further?
That's it.
Okay. Do we all understand exactly what we're looking at here? It's a timing issue.
Yes.
And just bear with me for a second. The question is, when does the 1-year period start to run? A variance is only, a variance has to be exercised within a year. So the question is, when does it begin? There are 3 times it could possibly begin. It could begin the minute the chairman of this board signs the decision and says, I'm signing this decision. That's one argument. The second is it could begin the minute it's filed with the town clerk. And then the third is it could begin when the town clerk determines that there's been no appeals. So we've got 3 issues. So the question is, which prevails?
Mr. Chairman, if I could, in this case, the day he signed it is the day he filed it with the town clerk.
Okay,
So if you use that first one you have, we are timely.
I understand.
His theory was, it starts the night the board announces the vote.
Right. And I have never seen that one.
I haven't either.
I haven't seen that one in any argument that's been made. Mr. Ford presents us with the manual, which is most, if not all, zoning lawyers go to. It's a compilation of case law, but it doesn't cite case law most of the time. I took it upon myself to do some further research. And I found a case, Massachusetts Appeals Court case, that makes reference to it starting on the day it is filed with the town clerk. And this was a case where in point was, how do we count the days? And basically, in this particular case, the recorded the variances on July 3rd, 11 days after the expiration of the 1-year period, and the 1-year period was June 26th or something like that. So that's what the Mass Appeals Court said. I could not find a Supreme Judicial Court case on it,
I couldn't either.
but I've then found other references to the period starts to run when it's filed with the town clerk. If we agree with that, then we have the opportunity to, one way or another, approve the request for a 6-month extension. And I have no idea when that time starts running.
I think it would start on the date you decide that the 1 year ran, which would be September 13th.
Right.
So we're already into it.
So we can either say, we're gonna take it some other time, and Mr. Ford is gonna have to refile and come back all over again. And it has to be a refile, and it's gotta be a hearing all over again.
It does.
The evidence has to be basically the same and so on. Or we can accept the fact that it's filed at the time the town clerk receives it for the 20-day period. Personally, I think that deprives every petitioner of 20 days that they can build that property, because they can't build until the 20-day appeal period is over, and they can't get a building permit until it's over. So this is the lesser of those. That's my opinion based, and I'm not here to take town council, give an opinion on town council. The specific question was.
You lost me there with the last thing about the 20 days. So are you advocating that the clock not start running until the end of the 20-day period?
I'm not advocating, I'm just saying that looking at the Massachusetts statute, and which doesn't define how the time gets counted, and then the appeals court case that I read, 2009, it starts counting the day it gets filed with the town clerk. It just so happened it was the same day that we signed, that David signed that, got filed with the town clerk. If the case is, that we agree that that's when it starts to run, Mr. Ford still has time, or has actually put his request in a timely way.
Good.
So that's what's before us. We either agree or we don't agree. We grant him a 6-month extension, or we say you haven't met the deadline.
I admit, I didn't do the further research, busy few days, but I would be inclined to say that out of fairness to the applicant, it would be after the 20-day appeal period, because, you can't do anything until that 20-day
yeah.
appeal period. So I think that's really a matter of fairness.
Either way,
Right.
Mr. Ford is still good?
Yes.
Whether it's
Either at the
date
time we
it's
file with
filed
the clerk, or
the
the time the
or
clerk
appeal
resent it back.
period.
It's still good.
I may
Any questions?
I
Any
may
more?
stand corrected, but I have a vague recollection of going through this with a 40B on when that particular document was signed, and I think it had to do with 20 days. There was a question that came up, I thought, on, something was brought to our attention on that, the result of that long, involved process. But I thought there was a question arose on that with regarding our chairman's signature and that 20 days.
Well, under the statute, the 20 days starts running when it's filed with the town clerk. That's clear.
Right.
Under the statute. What isn't clear is when the 1 year starts to run on a variance, or 2 years on a special permit.
40Bs are a different chapter of the
Yes,
of the law.
yes.
I guess we'll be setting a precedent here for the board, or at least.
No, it's not precedent, no.
It's just a question of voting. Yes, you can have an extension from the date you asked for one,
You're right.
or not.
I think he's within the time limit. I think it's only
Apparently,
fair.
he is either way.
Do we have a motion?
I would move to,
Approve the 6
To
month.
allow,
to
to allow the
allow,
extension.
where is it?
Oh, it's in front of you.
In the discretion of this board, we would, upon the written application of the grantee, extend the time for exercise of such rights for a period not to exceed 6 months.
Okay. Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks very much for your time.
Can we call the 6 months start the date, the 13th, so that we have,
I think that's what I'm hearing from the
That
board.
was the date of
Yeah,
the
the 6
filing,
months
correct?
starts
6
at the
months
end
from
of the first
9/13.
period of the
Right.
first
Yes.
year.
just to have a date, okay, from 9/13.
I think that's what I heard. Thank you. I think that's what I heard.
Thanks.
Good night.
Good night.
In education, listening to your whole meeting.
Was for us as well.
I had something else about some continuing ed stuff, but I can send it to you in an email. How about
Okay.
that?
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Okay, do we, I'm sorry.
Motion to adjourn, anyone, or is there anything else?
Anything else?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Amen.
All in
Aye.
favor?